the next case.
All parties in the matter of Branlin versus Evans. Step forward, please.
19-year-old makeup artist Sarah Branlin is suing her ex-best friend, 19-year-old Angela Evans, for the return of her makeup case.
All right, this major case is all about a cosmetics case. A whole bunch of makeup. You say that you loaned the cosmetics case to the defendant. It was yours. She won't return it. She says it's her case. And Bird really cares about this. Where's the case?
The case is with me.
I'd like to see it.
Me too.
Oh. Here's the pictures. The pictures are here.
That's all you got? I'll take a look at pictures.
And it's just the one that the arrow's pointing to.
Okay. I assume that this is your business. You either sell or promote or do something with these, because these look like makeup testers. Is that right?
Correct.
Freebies given away by somebody. Tell me how it's yours. Tell me how she got possession of it.
Me and Angie both worked at Macy's, and for a selling drive, sometimes we would be able to get other things in return for selling an amount of products. Angie worked for Lancome. I worked for Shiseido. Scott, the cosmetic manager at Macy's, did give us Lancome cases because we achieved a high amount of
When you said
selling.
us, what do you mean us? The two of you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So to be able to take out something out of the department, we get an exit pass at Macy's. It's right here. It's the receipt showing that the foundation case and an eyeshadow case was given to me. Here's a picture of an eyeshadow case, and it describes below all the items in the foundation case, which I do still have items of that I didn't actually let her borrow because they were my...
You have to have something that shows that you're not stealing
Exactly,
anything.
yes.
Okay. And this is showing me that you didn't steal what you walked out with.
Yes.
When was this? August of '02. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And according to this picture, there are some foundations missing, and according to you lent her the foundation kit absent the stuff that you use because you use it, so you didn't want to have that out of your possession. You use it for your own personal use.
Exactly.
Okay, when did you lend it to her?
And around May of 2003, it was for a wedding that she was about to do.
Well, tell me about it.
Me and her were really good friends, and we worked together on different makeup events. And so we always tried to help each other out. And so I let her borrow the foundation case because she didn't actually have a foundation case. She has a blush, lipstick, and other, etc.
When did you ask for it back?
It was actually after the argument that we had. We had a very, very bad argument. It was just kind of like girl stupid stuff, I guess. And we were at her house when we had the argument. I drove off very mad. And then when I realized that when I drove off that she still had my foundation case, and so I let my boyfriend call her and tell her that I would like that back, and we can also exchange clothes, that me and her sometimes borrowed clothes from each other.
This is the boyfriend?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Hans Swanberg.
When did you call Miss Evans?
On the night that they got in a fight.
Do you know what day that was?
Yes, I do.
5/14.
It was May 14th.
And what did you say to Miss Evans when you called her?
Well, I tried to be smooth at first because my goal was to get the makeup case back.
I asked you what you said to her.
I said that I understand that you got in a fight, and I'm sure you guys will get over it because they've had fights in the past and they always get over it. And I said, I understand that you have some items of Sarah's, and I said specifically the makeup case, and she said, yes, I do have that. And then I also said that Sarah has some of your items too, like clothes, and I asked if she wanted to meet to exchange those items because Sarah did not want to go meet her because they had gotten in a fight and she did not want to see her.
And what did Miss Evans say?
She agreed to meet the following day, and I was to call her sometime when I was at work and discuss when we were going to meet that night.
And did you?
I did.
And what happened when you called?
Her friend answered the phone, and she said Angie wasn't available, at which point I heard laughter in the background, a female voice and a male voice, and then they just hung up.
Okay. Is there any other evidence that you want to present
No.
to me? Good. Perfect. Sit down. Now I'll hear you.
Okay. As she said, I worked for Lancome. She worked for Shiseido. We were getting new tester units in, so my manager, whom I have here today, Connie Noel, divided the tester units between myself and another coworker of Lancome. Not Shiseido, because they usually don't cross-sign out products to different people. And so I took them home, and I use them for different events, such as weddings, and I've done like a photo shoot and stuff with them. And basically,
Try looking at me.
I let her borrow the foundation unit.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, she said that she wanted to borrow the unit, and I said, yeah, you can have it for a period of time. I gave the unit to her.
When was this?
That was about a month after I took the units home, around September.
And when did she return the unit to you?
I got it back. She had it for a while.
Yeah.
I got it back the end of April, because I did the wedding in July. It was my cousin's wedding.
You want to say anything to me before I ask her any other questions?
Sure.
Tell me your name.
I'm Connie Noel. As her manager, I professionally dispersed them. She got them put together, and I told her...
What do you mean she got them put together?
Well,
what
we had them in the back stock area, and I told her to get them together, the ones that she wished to take, and that she should take them up to her car. So she took them out to her car.
Which testers did she take out to her car?
The 5 that are showing on the picture.
And which ones did the plaintiff take?
I didn't give her any.
Why is that?
Well, she doesn't work for Lancome. She worked for Shiseido.
And these are all Lancome products?
Correct.
Interesting. Becomes a little more complicated. Why would they give you Lancome products if you work for Shiseido?
I understand that Scott did give us these units without Connie knowing, actually. I don't think he wanted her to know that Lancome things were going to other people.
Scott worked for you?
He was the general cosmetic manager, so he was my manager also.
He was your manager also?
Yes.
Have a seat.
He didn't work there.
Now it's getting better. So it's like a puzzle. Miss Evans, you got this back in April. Did you continue to be friends and work
yes.
together?
Yeah.
In April?
Mm-hmm. We were friends up until... Can I give you a little briefing?
No.
No.
I just want you to answer my question.
Okay.
Were you friends in April?
Yes.
When she gave you back the tester unit?
Correct. Yep.
Miss Evans, let me tell you what I think your problem is. At least your problem with me. It is clear to me from the photograph that you presented to me that a substantial number of products are missing. Makeup is missing. And if I were going to do a wedding, I would want to make sure that I had all my products with me from the tester, just in case I needed them. You got this tester back in April, and you continued to be her friend in April up until May, when you had an argument about something else wholly unrelated to the tester.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It would be common sense for you to say to her in April, I need all the makeup back just for the purposes of doing the wedding, and then I'll give it back to you if you want it. But there was no discussion about that, Miss Evans.
Well, actually what I did is there's a lot of doubles, duplicates of the, like, Ivory Zero is a foundation color. There can be 3 of them in there. And what I did is I took the units to the house and did like a test run on the ladies, so that if I needed those products, I could ask her for the products back. I did not realize that they were gone. I honestly didn't,
listen, I'm not a cosmetician. I realize they're gone.
When you get testers, they're not necessarily all there, because they've been on the counters for about 3 years. I mean, people walk by the counters, they steal different. They're not. It's not fully stocked, is what I'm saying. When I took it out, there wasn't every single color in there.
So what you're telling me is these were incomplete testers that already had been used. Is
Correct.
that right?
They were on the counter for at least 2 years.
At least 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So then my question to you is, why are you people bothering me?
That's my question too.
Quite frankly, I don't necessarily believe you. Her story sounds far more plausible than yours. And I don't think, with all deference to you, that you know what's his name?
Scott?
Scott did with all the testers. There's certainly some credibility that I hear in his voice when he says, I called her and said, let's make an exchange. She has some of your clothes and you have the tester. So I don't necessarily believe you. Do you understand? But that doesn't mean that you're entitled to $850, because you didn't spend $850. You got the makeup that you use out of the tester, is that right?
Yes.
Are you just here because you're angry with her?
No, because I would have dropped this whole thing a long time ago. It's been a lot of drama for like 2 months.
Listen to me. We're not talking about an item that you spent any money for. We're talking about something that's now at least 3 years old, that a whole bunch of people have put all over their skin, right? Because it's been out in a department store that has absolutely no value. So the $850 that you're suing for, forget it. Do you understand? All right?
The items,
so tell me what the drama is.
half the items have not been used in those cases. So when I do wedding...
Is that the drama that we're talking about? Is that what you want me to become exercised about?
No.
She used to be a friend. She's not your friend anymore. This amounts to nothing. You have to grow up. How old are you?
19.
You still working at Macy's?
No.
Where are you working?
I'm a freelance artist right now.
Doing what?
Just doing makeup events for special events and stuff like
Okay. And I assume that you have your own kit.
that. Since this, I do have to buy new foundations because half of them have been used, have been lost.
Well, if I were you and if I were doing makeup for a lot of different people, I would like nice new makeup anyway, not makeup that's 3 years old, right?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Hardy's court room, please. Hello. Okay. Your Honor, this is case number 188 on the calendar in the matter of Norrie versus Hathaway. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
All right, Miss Norrie, you owned a car.
Yes, I did.
Do you still own it?
No, I don't.
You allowed your boyfriend to drive the car.
Yes, I did.
Your boyfriend's name is Shane.
Yes.
According to what I've read here. And this would be Shane.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shane and the defendant went for a ride. The defendant somehow, after Shane went to sleep or whatever, went to a party and he wasn't in the shape to go home, the defendant decided to take the car, according to you, without Shane's permission and drive home.
Yes, Your Honor.
He wrecked the car.
Yes, he did.
And you want him to pay for the car.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Hathaway says, it's not my fault.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. Hathaway is going to explain, not only to me, but he is going to explain to Officer Petrie Hawkinsbird how someone who was the sole driver of a car, who wrecked it, can establish to our satisfaction that it was somebody else's fault.
Okay.
Okay? Is that fair?
That's fair, Your Honor.
Very good. Step up here, Shane. Now, you borrowed the plaintiff's car when?
January 16th.
And what did you borrow the car for?
To go to Bridgewater State College. We went up there to visit a friend.
Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Did you?
Oh, did I?
On January 16th, 2003, have a driver's license?
No, I didn't.
How did you expect to drive her car without a driver's license, Shane?
Ben was driving the car there to the college. And then...
When you borrowed the car from your girlfriend, did you tell her that Mr. Hathaway was going to be driving the car?
No, I did not tell her that.
Were you going to be back that evening?
No, the next morning.
Who did you tell her was going to be driving the car?
Actually, I didn't tell her anything. She just knew Ben was going to be driving the car.
Is that right?
Yes, I knew he didn't have a license.
So you knew that Ben was going to be the driver?
Yes, I did.
All interesting things that they left out of the complaint, by the way. So you gave permission for Ben to drive your car with Shane as the passenger.
Yes, I did.
So what happened, Shane?
Well, we both went to Bridgewater State College that night. We went to a party. We were drinking and stuff like that. And he asked me, he goes, can I use your car? And I said, no way. And then he took my keys and he took off with my car, and I ran out to get him, but he took off right in front of me in the parking lot. And then I waited in the parking lot thinking he was joking around. But 20 minutes later, he never came back.
Where did he say he wanted to go with the car?
To go pick up my friend Rob.
I mean, you asked that with a question in your voice.
To pick up my friend Rob.
This is not sounding true to me, Shane.
He said he wanted...
Bird, you see Bird is shaking his head?
Yeah.
You see Bird is shaking his head? We together are like a truth machine. Okay. You know what happens when somebody is piddling on my leg? The hairs on the back of my neck start to stand up. So I can always tell when someone is making it up as they're going.
Okay.
Because the hair on the back of my neck goes up, and I'm watching the hair on the back of his neck. Do you understand, Shane? So we're going to start again.
Okay.
You're at a party.
Yes.
Doing some drinking.
Yes.
And
we come back to the dorm room where we were going to sleep at.
you fell asleep.
No, I didn't fall asleep.
Did you get into bed?
No.
Did you fall into bed?
No.
You were standing at the window.
No, we were in the room just talking and stuff like that. Okay? And then he took my keys and he started going down the stairs. He said he was going to leave, and I chased him, and he went inside my car. And then I was like, Ben, get out of my car. And he took off right in front of me.
So what was going to pick up a friend, Rob?
He promised my friend Rob, who lives in Providence College, I don't know, an hour away or something like that. He promised he was going to go get him that night because he talked to him.
But he didn't say anything to you about going to pick up Rob
Yes,
when he took
did.
the keys.
He said, I want to go pick up Rob, and I said, no.
Let's have it.
All right. Well, Your Honor, I was asked to drive the car.
Did that. You remember when Jack Nicholson did that? I loved when he did that.
All right. Eye contact. Well, I was asked to drive the car, so we went up there like was said before. The plan was for us to come home that night. So we went out, we went to a party, and when it was time to go home, that wasn't the case anymore. He didn't want to go home, and I started arguing with him saying, you know, I was the one who drove up here, and right now I'm the one who's driving the car, and you promised me I could go home, therefore
I'm going home.
I want to go home. And when that didn't come to an agreement, I said, you know what, I am going home. And I jumped in the car, and he said, come on, man, I don't want to leave. Let's stay here. It's the better thing to do. It's late. I said, no, I want to go home. And so I jumped in the car.
Had you been drinking, Mr. Hathaway?
I had been drinking earlier that night, and by the time it was time to go, I felt that I was sober enough to drive the car home.
Not sober enough, evidently, Mr. Hathaway. Because what happened on the way home, sir?
Well, that's also because, Your Honor, not only was it late at night, but as you can see, it was in January, and snow was covering on the ground, and therefore I made it slippery while driving. And
whose fault is that? God's fault? The weatherman's fault?
I guess so, Your Honor.
Yes. Yeah. Why don't you tell me how the accident happened, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, I was driving along, and I was coming home down Route 1. Sorry, eye contact. All right, I was coming down Route 1, and I was on the side of the road, and I just hit an ice patch, black ice, whatever it may have been, and slid off into the guardrail, and the car crashed. I got it to drive a little bit farther down the road so I could make it to somewhere where I could stop and park, and then I called my mother, and she came and picked me up at the location that I was at.
Maybe that's why he wanted to stay over, because you both had a little something to drink. The weather was bad, it was snowy, it was slippery, it was icy. So that was better judgment, right, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, that was his judgment, but the judgment...
Evidently better judgment because you wrecked the car.
Yeah, but I don't believe that was the reason for the wrecking of the car.
Well, then tell me what you think the reason was, sir. You just told me it was January and it was slippery and sliding outside.
That's what I'm saying. There was ice on the ground, and that's what caused the crash. It had nothing to do with me being drunk or anything like that.
You love it, huh? What? You love it?
Too much.
Mr. Hathaway, do you know why Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird is laughing? And he usually doesn't do that. He usually doesn't have as good a time as he's having right now. He's laughing because you sound like a fool.
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You thought that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car.
And later today,
I agreed to pay off her car for a Christmas present.
If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa Norrie claims her boyfriend's former friend, Ben Hathaway, stole her car and wrecked it. Ben claims Melissa loaned him the car.
Now, what kind of car was this, Miss Norrie?
It was a Saab, 1992.
And it was totaled?
Yes, it was. I have the paper stating it was totaled, and I have how much it's worth, and I also have the pictures.
Pictures?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what the Blue Book value of the car is. 4-cylinder?
Yes.
4-cylinder is worth $1,750. Your car had 300,000 miles on it.
Yes, or 280 something.
All right. Mr. Hathaway,
Yes, Your Honor.
you exercised poor judgment, sir. You drove the car, you had an accident. You had an accident, you had been drinking. You were told by the person who really had borrowed the car, even though you were driving, that they didn't want you to drive home. So at that point, you shouldn't have driven home. You did drive home. You had an accident. It's your fault. You have to compensate the plaintiff for that. Do you understand?
Somewhat, Your Honor. I just don't get that there was an agreement to drive home, and you're already saying that I was under the influence, and I had said
I didn't say you were under the influence, sir. I said that you had been drinking earlier that evening.
Exactly.
And you said that by the time you were ready to go home, you thought
Correct.
that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car. Who's responsible? Her?
I guess no. I don't know.
I
Nobody.
guess not. No, not nobody. Not nobody. Somebody is responsible. And since you were the one who was driving, and you were the one who elected to drive in bad weather on an evening when you had been partying, you are responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He apologized a few times, and he said that he was going to go through his insurance company and he was going to pay us right away.
It was tough to do that, and I apologized, and I wanted to take care of it in the best way I could.
It's not something you should do to your friend, really. You know what I mean? I told him not to take it, and he took it.
It was kind of tough, but I mean, it's hard to, to lose a friend after that long of a time.
I think he got what he deserved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weber versus Lamont. Step forward, please.
Contractor Jason Weber is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kathleen Lamont, for an unpaid loan for a truck.
Mr. Weber, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. I think I read something about 3 years. Is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, when you broke up, which was recently, when was that?
It was in March of '03.
The defendant took with her a truck that is both titled and registered in her name. You claim purchased by you. The loan for the truck is in your name, and you want the money back.
Right.
Miss Lamont says that this was not a loan. Miss Lamont says this was a gift from you to her. You were living together. She came into the relationship with another car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You sold that car, got her another car, then sold that car, and then bought this truck, and there was never any talk about payment by her. You're only seeking payment now because you're no longer together. That's your defense.
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
right? So I'd like you to tell me first who these people are. Who is this person?
This is my sister.
Is she a witness for you?
Yes.
A witness who will say what?
That Kathy stated to her that I was getting a loan for her for the truck.
And who are these people?
My son and my boyfriend, Scott.
Do they have any information with regard to this case, or are they just here for moral support?
It depends on how it goes, actually. My son has been present during most everything that's happened.
I'm not interested in most everything. I'm only interested in the truck. I have a very limited focus.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Weber. When the defendant and you first began to live together, what kind of a car did she have?
She had a 97 Dodge Stratus.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I sold it.
To whom?
A friend of mine.
And how much did you get for it?
$3,500.
And what did you do with the $3,500?
Well, he's still paying me for it. I agreed to let him give me monthly payments on it.
And then what did she use for transportation, Mr. Weber?
She was driving my car, which was a 94 Ford Probe GT.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I sold that one also.
Okay, well, that was your car to sell.
Right.
And then what was she driving?
We purchased a 99 Toyota Tacoma 4x4 pickup.
When you say we purchased, what does that mean?
I financed it, and she agreed to pay the payment. As you'll see, I took the $4,000 right off the top of the money that was owed on the truck, on top of the payments that she made on the truck.
Explain that to me.
I agreed to give her or pay off her car for a Christmas present, which was $4,000.
Pay off her car. Which car?
The 97 Dodge Stratus. I paid
You mean
for the
when
Dodge
you
Stratus.
sold that to your friends, she had money owing on that?
No. Yes, she had money owing on it, but I had paid it off. So it was free and clear when I sold it.
How much did she owe on it?
$4,000.
Is that right?
Yes, and he paid it off for my Christmas present that year.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. Then you went and sold the car.
Yeah. She didn't want it. She wanted the 94 Ford Probe.
Listen to me. If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
Bad one. She got another car to replace it.
No, you said you gave her your car to drive.
I did.
You didn't give her another car. The other car, I assume, was in your name.
She got her $4,000 back with the 97 or 99 Toyota truck.
Mr. Weber, either you make a present or you don't, sir. If you say you made her a Christmas present in 2002, when you buy the truck, you don't make her another present.
Right.
By deducting it. You made her a present. It was a gift. Goodbye. It's over. And what I don't understand is if you're a couple living together, I don't understand you saying, well, I'm going to buy a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Because you say, we purchased a truck. What were you driving at the time?
I had a pickup of my own.
Okay. So you bought this 1999 pickup. How many years ago?
It was last year.
Give me the date.
It was October of '02.
And in October of 2002, what were you doing for a living?
Me? I was working at a Chevron as a cashier and going to school full-time.
And what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a contractor.
Now, from October 2002 until when you broke up, which is in what month?
March '03.
Who made the payments for the truck?
She did.
Is that right?
I made 5 payments on the truck, yes, from November to March.
Well, then that sounds to me as if there may have been an agreement for you to make the payments on the truck, Miss Lamont.
I agreed to help him out financially because he said he was having some problems, and I was only going to work until I was losing my job after March because I was starting an internship for school. So
there are a lot of other ways, Miss Lamont, that you could have helped him out financially. Making the truck payment was not...
It wasn't a truck payment. It was a personal loan payment that he had. I have the title to the truck. I never knew there was going to be a loan on the truck in the first place. There wasn't supposed to be one.
Miss Lamont, how much were you paying towards this loan each month?
I paid $200 a month from November to March until I didn't have a job anymore.
Payment?
$200.
Then you knew there was a loan payment. Mr. Weber, how much is owed on the truck?
Oh, $5,100.
Now, problem is she hasn't made any payments. Is that correct?
Correct.
Since when?
Since March was her last payment.
Have you made the payments?
Yes, I have.
In what amount?
$200 a month.
April, May, June. $600?
Correct.
You owe him, at this point, $600. As a matter of fact, we're close enough to the time where you're going to owe him $800. But you are not entitled, pursuant to your contract with the defendant, to get an upfront amount of $5,100. You understand that?
No.
You didn't have an agreement for her to pay you $5,100. You had an agreement for her to pay you the loan. And there was not an acceleration clause that said that if she failed to make 1 or 2 payments, then the entire sum would be due and owing. Unless you have that agreement, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
That's all I'm asking for is for her to pay the payment.
Well, she's going to have to make the payments. Right now, she owes you what you've paid, which is $800.
That works for me.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you very much. Madam, I strongly urge you to get this loan in your own name, or perhaps your current boyfriend can help you out with a loan. Thank you. Because he's going to bring you back to court every few months for money. You got it?
Yeah, this is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Montani versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Just step up here, please. This used to be your boyfriend, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Miss Montani, this case is an interesting one, pretty unique even for me. Your daughter and the defendant's son were dating, and these 2 young people decided to go into a business together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that business involved the purchase of a pig, a breeding pig. And what were you going to do with this pig?
We were going to breed her and sell the piglets for people to show during the fairs.
That was your intention?
Yes, ma'am.
So each of you put in how much? towards the pig?
$250 each.
And when did you purchase this pig?
June 3rd.
You have a picture of the pig?
Yes, ma'am. I have a few pictures.
Now, from what I gather, the pig remained at your house, Mrs. Smith. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And did, in fact, have 2 piglets.
Had 10 baby piglets.
And each of you kept one, and you sold the others?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
How much did you sell the others for?
$100 a piece.
At that point, you made $800.
We kept 2. Each of us kept 1 each, also to eat because they were smaller than the others. They were runts.
I'm asking, you sold 8 piglets?
No, ma'am.
You sold 6?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got $600. Now, what did you do with the $600 that you got from the piglets?
Crystal can answer that. She's got it broke down into what they had done with it.
What did you do with the $600, Crystal?
$128 on feed, $50 for warmer. We bought Nick's official dress for FFA, which was $76.
Okay, so you spent the money on things involving the business with this first litter.
Mm-hmm.
But then you each kept a pig.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I read that you went to a fair and your pig came in
second place.
Second place. And how much did you win?
$1,100.
And you got how much?
500 something.
And you kept that money, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you kept your 1,100?
Yes, ma'am.
So right now, this is so far a really good business. This is a really good business.
And a bunch of charming pigs.
And a bunch of charming pigs. Did you see these pigs?
Oh, lovely pigs. Some BLT, huh?
Shh. Okay. Now, this lawsuit is about the fact that you two are no longer in business because you're no longer a boyfriend and girlfriend. So you want your initial $250 back, right? And also some investment that your mother said she gave them for cement for the pig pen. You're not getting that back. Forget it. Let's talk about the initial $250 investment. Do you believe she's entitled to that back?
In a way, yes, ma'am, but the food also has cost way beyond that.
Just a minute. Is this pig pregnant again?
She was, but she's had another litter since then.
Really? So since you're no longer boyfriend and girlfriend, she's had another litter?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many did she have in the other litter?
She had 15, but 2 died.
Okay, so that's going to give you $1,300.
Yes, ma'am.
She's only suing for $250. You know, when you're in business together, just because you break up, that doesn't mean that she's not entitled to a fair percentage of the business. That would include a piece of these 13 piglets. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, but that was after we had left, and that's after I was going to buy her out of her business, and that money came from my own personal money after she had left.
She left. What do you mean she left? You broke up. Just because you broke up, the business doesn't die. You still got the pig. Let me try to draw an analogy that maybe you'll understand. Let us say the two, look at me. Don't look at your mother. Look at me. Let's say the two people stop playing with your papers. Let's say that 2 people decide to go into business and they open up a restaurant together. And they each invest $5,000 to open up the restaurant. And they make their money back, just like you did. Got your initial investment back, but this restaurant really takes off. And this restaurant is now worth a lot of money. People break up. Girl leaves. She says, I want my $5,000 back that I put into the restaurant. You should say, here, take it. Because let's say your restaurant at that point is worth $100,000. She'd be entitled to half of that. Not $5,000, $50,000. Well, she invested half of the money that it cost to buy your restaurant, Miss Piggy. And Miss Piggy, so far, is worth a lot more than her $250 investment. You had $1,300 that she didn't partake in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
And later today,
he sent me a letter on March 23rd saying that I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm attractive.
I assume that you became interested in a more than professional relationship with the plaintiff. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Montani says Stacy Smith and her son, 16-year-old Nicholas Link, owe for the cost of a pig.
All she wants in this lawsuit is her initial investment back. You should be very grateful, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because in 6 months, your pig is going to have another litter of pigs. I don't know how many litters do they have in a year.
2 probably.
So let's say in any given year, they're going to have at least 20 pigs twice a year. You're going to make $2,000 a year. How many years can she go on and have piglets?
She can only be read about 6 or 7 times.
Well, let's see. So let's say you got minimum $2,000 a year times 7. That's $14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
Yes, ma'am. That would have been paid to her when this whole thing started, but it just wasn't $250 that she was asking for. She was asking for, I think it was $475.
Right, she was. Well, I just told her that she wasn't going to get the $475.
Yes, ma'am. If that wouldn't have been there in the beginning, the $250 would have been paid straight up.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
All right, excused. You may step out.
She came in the first year at the fair higher than Nick, and
Tyler says his former friend and tenant, 27-year-old Joy Goldstein, owes him for unpaid rent. Joy is countersuing John for verbal, physical, and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 203 on the calendar in the matter of Tyler versus Goldstein. You okay, Judge?
Yes.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
People certainly do write a lot. So I had to ferret through these papers to try to figure out what you were suing each other for. I gather you rented a room in his house, and you leased the house from somebody else.
Correct.
You were forced to evict her.
Correct.
Because according to you, she violated the terms of the underlying lease that you had with the landlord.
Correct.
Because she brought in a puppy.
It's two-faceted, ma'am. First was the dog that originally started this off. Then she refused to pay rent, and the actual rent.
Well, I understand that. She
was,
refused to pay rent because you were fighting about the puppy, and then after she refused to pay rent and continued to live there, then you had her evicted.
Yes.
So you want your rent and the cost of eviction.
Correct.
Now you, on the other hand, Miss Goldstein,
Yes, ma'am.
are countersuing him for $5,000 because you say that you spent a terrible year and you can't recapture that year of your life.
That's correct.
I don't want you to get your hopes up, Miss Goldstein, on your counterclaim.
I
Good.
don't have hopes
Good.
other than this being
Good.
over with.
Because grown people, if they make a mistake and they're not happy where they're living, they pack up their little bag and they leave. They don't stay where they are and then say, I'm miserable and I'm unhappy, boo-hoo, now I have to get compensated from somebody who is neither related to me by blood or marriage because they made my life miserable. You pick yourself up and you move on. You got it?
He had an obligation to pay me for work that I had done for him.
Just a second. I'm talking about the work. Right now, you're supposed to pay him rent, and you stopped paying him rent. You want to tell me why?
I stopped paying him rent because he harassed me over and over again.
About what?
The list is long. I've got a stack.
Well, I'm not interested in the stack. If he harassed you and you were miserable, why didn't you move out?
Because I was waiting for a payment from him so that I could move out. I could not pay a first and last month or a security deposit without the money that he owed me.
Just a second. Now, you say he owes you some money for work that you did for him.
Yes.
When did you do work for him?
I worked for him the summer of '96.
Just a second. In 1996, you worked for him during the summer. And how much do you say he owed you in 1996?
He owed me $635. I have...
Just a second. He owed you $635. And
Yes.
when did you move in to his home?
I moved in on June 10th, 1997.
Now, between 1996 and 1997, why didn't you collect the money he owed you, allegedly owed you, from working for him?
because there was never an explanation as to how to fill out paperwork. We were friends, as I
She
said,
never filled it.
and it's very complex, Your
Well,
Honor.
I don't have time for very complex
I
things. What I want to
understand
know
this.
from you is, in 1996, which is over 2 years ago, you say you worked for him and he owes you money. You didn't collect it in all of 96. You moved into his home and you lived there for, what, 10 months?
Yes.
10 months. And the first month you paid him rent, right?
Yes.
The second month you paid him rent.
Yes.
And the third month you paid him rent.
Yes.
And I could go on and on and on. And you didn't say to him, well, listen, we have this $635 bill that you owe me, so let's take off $50 from the rent for each month that I'm here, so by the time this lease is over, you will have fully paid me. You didn't say that to him. You paid him.
I paid him, but may I say something?
Sure.
This man called me on May 28th of 1997, asking me to come in and fill in for his sick office manager, asking me for 1 week to cover for her. Your Honor, I already had 2 jobs, but the next day I showed up to help him out.
Ms. Goldstein, you know you're a Calamity Jane, and aside from the fact that you're a Calamity Jane, there's a little bit of a story that you're telling me, because I'm looking at your answer. And you say in your answer that the reason you didn't pay rent was because the landlord, his landlord, allegedly, and I don't have that testimony here, said you could stay there rent-free. That's what you say here.
Well, that's why it's complex, Your Honor.
No, what's complex is, for 2 years, you say he owes you money. You do nothing about it. Did you ever have a discussion with him about paying off this rent, utilities, and whatever else from the rent that you were supposed to pay him?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you have that conversation?
That is what I'm trying to establish.
Just tell me when you had that conversation.
It was after I started working for him that summer.
You worked for him for 1 week?
Oh, it turned into the entire summer, Your Honor.
Okay.
And it was throughout the course of...
Just a second. You worked for him for the entire summer of 1997.
May 29th until September 1st. That was the last day that I worked for him.
I assume, madam, since you are clearly not shy, you got paid for all of 97.
No, ma'am, I did not.
So you mean you worked for him from May to September and you didn't get paid?
I got a portion of that payment.
What portion did you get? Let's start with what portion you got. How much money did he pay you during that period of time?
He paid me off of...
Judge Judy, I have it for you if you'd like.
How much did you pay her?
It was $3,937.50, leaving a net check at $2343.73.
Okay,
then there was a...
Just a minute.
Sure.
Go ahead.
And then there was a discrepancy as to what pay sheets you turned in for 1997, and there was a big fault.
97 or 96?
97. I never got pay sheets from her from 1996. Until this very day, I've never seen one pay sheet from her for turning that stuff in.
This is such a lie. Oh, my goodness.
I will verify that, ma'am, and I have this in writing here for her 1997 work. We made a compromise of splitting the difference of a couple little issues that we had for 1997. It was a couple $100. I said, I'll pay that to you. It's in her own handwritten form that was a fair compromise.
Let me see it.
Sure, ma'am. It is here.
Let me see it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not interested in the harassment, Miss Goldstein.
This man is lying to you.
You're full of baloney, madam.
I am
baloney.
And later today,
a song called
Song called
well, my song is actually called
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Tyler says Joy Goldstein owes him for back rent and eviction fees. Joy says John owes her for 10 months of harassment.
Okay. This is in your handwriting.
Pardon me?
Just a second.
Here,
Dated January 5th, 1998. And it says, John, as per your suggestion today, I will expect a non-taxed reimbursement check for $237. Though our final compromise...
In quotes.
Yes, I understand. So what? That's what you say, your final compromise. You're accepting it as a final compromise. And you say you're still complaining that you're the lowest paid paid worker or instructor there, but you're accepting it. And then you say, once I receive this money, quote, parens, 237, I will be able to close this summer pay issue fully, allowing me time and money to deal with other financial issues.
You know, Your Honor, at that point in time, I had suffered so much grief because of his constant harassment. You do not understand what
I want to
he
tell
put
you
me
what I
through.
understand, madam. You took this check, so I don't want to hear anything else about 1997. You got a check for $237. This is in your handwriting. You accepted it. The issue of 97 is closed. And I'm not going back to 1996. Now.
Thank you.
1996, I have paperwork that proves that he
Just
owes
a
me
second.
money.
Just a second. He says he never got the paperwork, madam. Did you ever
He could say whatever he wanted, though, couldn't he?
Miss Goldstein, I'm going to tell you something. I don't, A, believe that it was an issue, and I don't, B, believe that it was the reason that you didn't pay him rent for your apartment.
Thank you.
I don't believe that that's why you didn't pay him rent. Because he owed you money from 2.5 years before.
No.
Good.
That was
fine. How
just
much?
a small
listen
part
to me,
of it.
Mr. Tyler.
Yes.
I've had enough of the histrionics.
Thank
How
you.
much was the rent she was supposed to pay?
The rent she's supposed to pay is $550. I have that in...
Just a second. $550. That's a month's rent.
Correct.
Now, what were the expenses for eviction? Let me hear.
330, let me see, it's $355, Your Honor.
Let me see.
$355.
I assume you're standing there for a reason. Who are you?
Yes, I'm Jennifer, and I also used to work for John and Joy's girlfriend.
What do you know about this case that you think I must know about, madam?
She was there through
For just
every
about
bit
all
of
of it.
harassment.
I
I'm
was
not
there-
interested in the harassment, Miss Goldstein. You have to
This is
understand
why
something.
I left, Your Honor.
Good.
Oh,
You should have left before. You should have paid your rent, and then you move out.
He owed me money. It was his suggestion, Your
No,
Honor.
no,
You
Miss
didn't
Goldstein.
give me an
Miss
opportunity.
Goldstein, you're full of baloney, madam.
I am
baloney.
so not.
This had nothing to do with what he owed you in 1996.
It
You accept-
absolutely has everything to do with it.
Yeah, in your mind, madam. Because if he owed you money, and if somebody failed to pay me money for 2 years that they owed me, they would be in small claims court within 3 months.
Excuse
You
me.
didn't do that.
I
You didn't do
misunderstood the
Yeah.
96 part. 97, the day I came in, Your Honor, he expressed to me that because I was now working for him and going to be moving in, if I opted to, if I would like, he would take the money I earned there and go ahead and forward that into my rent.
Just a minute.
By the time
Did you
I
ever
moved
say
out,
that?
Never.
She
And
is
it's not
opposed
in your
to this.
answer.
You said
I
in the
want to tell you
kitchen.
something. You've got a pretty vivid imagination, Miss Goldstein.
Thank you.
When do you tell the truth and when do you tell a lie?
It is
At what
all
point?
the truth, Your
At what
Honor.
point?
If you look at it, it is all plainly truth. May I show you this, please?
No.
This is a record of every check I paid. I paid my rent on time. I wanted to
Show
take
me,
care of
just
everything.
a second. Show me March.
Show her this.
This, Your
Show
Honor,
me, say nothing. Show me March's
This
check.
is what I show you. I show you that I spoke to the owner of the house.
Is that just a second, Bird?
No, it is
Bird,
not.
is that a check?
No.
Is that a money order?
No.
Is that a withdrawal from an ATM?
It is a
Would you
dismissal,
please,
Your
would you
Honor.
would you please give it back to her?
Okay. This man is lying to you.
No, you're lying, Miss Goldstein. You're lying about the things that are germane to this lawsuit. A, you gave me 6 different reasons why you didn't pay rent, and one of them is that the landlord forgave you rent. Okay? One of them is that he owes you money from 1996 and 1997. Clearly, he doesn't owe you any money from 1997 because you accepted a check of $237 in full satisfaction of anything that he owed you in 1997. Now you're looking at it and you say, I'm not satisfied. I was under a lot of stress from living with him. And I'm looking at you, and somebody who's got a mouth like yours doesn't live or shouldn't live in a situation. I don't care if you move in with her. Move in with a friend. Move in with somebody else. You don't live in a stressful situation where your life is being made miserable every day by somebody.
Do you understand?
Oh, I understand.
Yes, you understand.
Judgment
I
in this
moved
case
out.
for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. All I can say is the judge saw it fairly, and it's great. There's no problem with it whatsoever.
I had my peace taken away from this man, and this is just icing on the cake.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cantor versus Hot Talk. Step forward, please.
21-year-old office manager Tim Cantor says 41-year-old radio DJ Tom Spence didn't give him his winning prize for his parody of the song by the Crash Test Dummies.
Are you the host of this radio program, sir?
Yes, I am.
Radio program is called Hot Talk?
Hot Talk Cafe is what
Hot
we
Talk
call
Cafe.
it. Yes.
And your program was running a contest. You entered the contest.
Correct.
And you say that you won the contest,
I was told by him that I won the contest.
and you didn't get your prize.
Correct.
So tell me about this contest.
I entered a contest that was advertised in a local newspaper for, it was a song parody contest for Weird Al Yankovic.
For what?
Weird Al Yankovic, a musician, was in town in the Ventura County Fair to do a concert. So it was a song parody contest that I entered, and I entered lyrics to a song that I had written by the Crash Test Dummies.
By what?
A band called the Crash Test Dummies.
Crash Test Dummies. There is a legitimate band that's called the Crash Test Dummies.
It was a one-hit wonder band.
What was their hit?
A song called
I love it. A song called
Correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pick your best verse, sir.
Says, once there was this song that got a little overplayed and lost everyone's interest.
I suppose you have a regular line of work.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Tim Cantor says radio DJ Tom Spence didn't give him his winning prize for his parody of the song by the Crash Test Dummies.
You wrote a parody to
No.
I assume that you have this memorialized in a writing.
Correct.
Go to it.
Well, my song is actually called and there's 3 verses in the song. The first verse is making fun of the original song.
Pick your best verse, sir.
The first verse is actually making fun of the original song by the Crash Test Dummies. It says, once there was this song that got a little overplayed and lost everyone's interest. And when MTV played it, viewers always complained about gas pains. They couldn't quite explain it. It always just happened.
I suppose you have a regular line of work.
Yes.
So he entered the contest and he won.
He did win.
You say that with some doubt. He won.
He won. Correct, I'm sorry.
What was the prize?
The prize was tickets to see Weird Al Yankovic in concert.
Weird Al Yankovic.
For quite a few years, he's been doing parody songs of hit songs, writing funny lyrics to them.
Did you send him his tickets?
We called him and said, I left a message on a machine, that number, and I said, you won. You can come by and pick up your tickets. He didn't come by. The show was that night, and there they went. We did make an effort to contact.
So what are you going to do to make this up to him? He won.
We did offer him various prizes that are of a like value, and he couldn't decide on any one. I think I had about 3 contacts with him via phone.
Right.
He was suggesting what prizes he should get as compensation. We had things like concert tickets and so forth.
Well, this was for concert tickets, is that correct?
And tickets to the Ventura County Fair and $50 worth of food at the fair.
Okay, so how much were the tickets, the concert tickets worth?
The tickets were worth, since there was 4 tickets, it ended up being $24 for the 4 tickets, and then $50 worth of food on top of that.
So
Plus
it's
parking. So it's $79 total.
Is that right?
Yes.
$79 total.
Yes, that's what it originally started at.
And so why shouldn't it be $79 now?
Well, I live in Orange County, and the radio station is out in Ventura County. And over the last 10 months, I've been trying to contact the radio station. I've left several messages. I'm very rarely called back. When I am called back, they usually give me the runaround. I've worked with the station manager most of the time. And when I originally talked to her, she told me that I can be as picky as I wish because they messed up. And I could take any tickets they want.
May I?
Sure. Step right up here.
This is my partner.
I am the promotions director for KTR, AM
Yes.
1520.
And your name?
Paul Smith. He has harassed a number of our employees at the station, and unfortunately, due to if a guy keeps calling back and they're offering him a prize of like value, and he just continually consistently says no, he doesn't want it, and then harasses the person that answers the phone. There's more than one person that answers the phone.
So why don't you just say to them, listen, we're going to send you a gift certificate or a check for $100, go to see whatever concert you like.
We tried to, on a number of cases.
You tried to? Is that right?
No.
Just a second. Is that right?
No, I specifically asked the station manager one time if she could just give me the cash value of the contest, and she had told me no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Did they offer you other tickets?
They've offered me a couple of the tickets.
So why didn't you take them?
Because I didn't feel that they were equivalent to the original prize.
All right, listen, this is not the Scopes trial. It's also not the trial of the century. This is worth $100. That's what it is. Judgment is issued for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, is Frank Villardo out of jail, and he won't pay her back. Frank says he made it clear that he would never pay her back.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 147 on the calendar in the matter of Villardo versus Villardo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Mrs. Villardo, this is your stepson.
Yes.
And I assume this is your husband.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
8 years. 8 years.
Why are you laughing? Was it
because
that good?
It's. I'm like, I always thought he was going to be the one to forget. No, it was me.
Okay. According to your complaint, your stepson, this gentleman here, was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
You posted a substantial part of his bail money, $2,200.
Mm-hmm.
And he won't give it back to you.
Correct.
So, let's turn to you. You were arrested.
For a traffic ticket.
For a ticket.
2 tickets.
Totaling how much money?
One was not a traffic ticket.
Don't interrupt.
What I'm trying to understand is, did you want to know how much the bail was, or did you want to know how much the tickets were for when I went and appeared?
What I want to know, sir, is this. If you're arrested for 2 traffic tickets, you don't get bail of, in this case, I think it was $2,800.
Because they were extremely old is why.
How old were the 2 traffic tickets?
One was a year and a half, and one was almost 3 years, 2.5 years.
And traffic tickets, you mean for parking in the wrong place?
Speeding.
So it was moving violation.
They were moving violations, yes. And they were both dismissed later by the judge because they were already paid.
So you were bailed out. Bail is to ensure your appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Once you appear, bail is usually exonerated and you get the bail money back, unless the fines are so tremendous that the fines somehow eat up the bail money. So are you certain that what you're telling me is 100% accurate, that what you were arrested for were 2 traffic tickets on which the judge set $28,000 bail?
I believe, yeah, one was 15 and one was 13. And I don't believe that the money is given back for bail. When I went and appeared on the tickets, there was a small fine given for one, which I've paid in Van Nuys, and the other ticket was dismissed in Pomona because I had already paid it. I don't think the tickets are really the issue as much as the fact that I was being railroaded into paying money I didn't ask for.
Just a sec. What was he arrested for?
Okay, one was a traffic ticket in Pomona for driving on a suspended license and no insurance at the time. And the one in Van Nuys was Division 3. It is the criminal division. It was for switching price tags at an electronics store in the Valley.
That doesn't sound familiar to you?
It was a misdemeanor. It wasn't criminal.
Wasn't a traffic ticket either.
A felony or a misdemeanor are both considered crimes, sir. A felony is just a more serious crime. A misdemeanor is a less serious crime. Now, this switching price tags, was that the crime for which you were actually arrested?
Yes, yes, it was.
And it was after you were arrested on that that this outstanding warrant fell on you?
Yes.
Okay. Now it sounds more logical. Now, Mr. Velardo, you were in fact arrested. According to you, you were taken into custody and you were entitled to a phone call. You made a phone call to your wife's mother, right?
Yes.
Who wasn't home.
Right.
And you were pretty panicked because you didn't want to spend any time in jail.
Right.
Who was the next call you made?
To my stepmother.
And what did you say to your stepmother?
I asked her, because I didn't know how many phone calls I was going to be able to make, to continue to call my mother-in-law so she could take care of the situation.
When you mean take care of the situation, you mean get the money and get the bail?
Exactly.
So you were confident that your mother-in-law would come up with the now $2,200 in bail money?
Yes.
But she didn't get through to your mother-in-law?
She did not come home till late that night, till well after I was released.
Okay. So it was owing to your stepmother that you actually got out of jail?
It is owing to her? Yes. Did I ask for it? No.
You didn't say, I'm going to stay in jail, did you?
I wasn't going to stay in jail. I knew as soon as my mother-in-law was home or my wife was off work, it could have been handled quickly. I mean, I was in Malibu jail.
Just a second. Now, your excuse is paying her this money back, that you told her that there was no way you could pay the money back.
Correct.
That's not true. It's not true.
And I assume that you would have told your mother-in-law the same thing.
Right.
So why don't you get the money from your mother-in-law and give it back to your stepmother?
I shouldn't be put in this situation. I never asked for it.
I shouldn't.
And then I was railroaded, and I was threatened to have my legs broken by my own father.
Just a second.
I was threatened to have my legs broken by my own father.
Miss Velardo, Miss Velardo, Miss Velardo.
All right, and that's the God's
Miss
honest
Velardo.
truth.
I'm listening. This is still a court, so put your hands down and be quiet till it's your turn. Okay. Good.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm assuming that everything he says is true. That his mother-in-law thinks he's such a prize package that she would have put up the $2,200 so that her daughter would be a happy camper and she would have Prince Charming home.
And later today,
He bounced up on the hood of your car and smashed your windshield.
That's right.
And then you slid off.
That's correct.
You're lucky you're not dead.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hairstylist Adria Velardo says she bailed her stepson, 27-year-old computer artist Frank Velardo, out of jail, and he won't pay her back. Frank says he made it clear that he would never pay her back.
How old are you?
27.
You get arrested, you get put in jail. If you don't want somebody to bail you out, you don't have the money to, then you sit in jail until your court case comes up. That's
right.
what you do.
That's right.
You chose not to do that. You chose to get on the phone and start calling around and asking around for your mother-in-law to bail you out. When you couldn't get a hold of your mother-in-law, you called your stepmother. You told your stepmother, keep trying to call my mother-in-law, assuming that that's true. I'm taking everything that he says is true.
Well, that was both of our mistakes.
I'm assuming that everything he says is true. Some of it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I'm assuming that everything he says is true. That his mother-in-law thinks he's such a prize package that she would have put up the $2,200 so that her daughter, Nicole, that's your wife, would be a happy camper and she would have Prince Charming home.
Yeah.
Right? You owe her $2,200. Pay it. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't ask for it. I never asked her to bail me out. I never asked for money. My father's lost his son and grandchildren and everything over this, all due to a stepmother who I dislike very much.
He's my son, and I'm just embarrassed that this whole situation happened. I wish it didn't, but he has to learn that you just can't borrow money from everybody and not pay it back. That's the bottom line.
And now the next case.
Parties on Rotar, Kinch versus Settle. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Lori Rotar says 46-year-old manager Paul Settle smashed her windshield when her car hit him as he was crossing the street. Lori wants Paul to pay for the windshield.
Who was driving?
I was.
You are the owner of the car?
That's correct.
Were you in the car when this happened?
No.
Why don't you have a seat? You're driving along.
Mm-hmm.
He hits your car, but he's walking. Right?
Well, we collide together.
Well, he hit your car.
Well, yeah.
But he was a pedestrian.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit her car, you smashed her windshield.
That's correct.
You want him to pay for the windshield.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me how this happened?
Okay. I was coming from a friend's house, and I was just driving, and I didn't notice anybody was walking or anything. You know, there was, you know, nobody in the crosswalk or not. You know, I'm coming up to the stoplight, you know, and then he must have been like swerving in and out of cars. And as soon as I seen him, I mean, I completely stepped on the brakes as much as I could. You know, I thought maybe he would have seen me coming from a distance, like, oh, you know, there's a car coming, you know, let me move out the way, you know, or something like that.
So?
And then I just proceeded to go straight. And
No. You didn't go straight after you hit him.
Well, no.
You were traveling along.
Yes.
The two left lanes.
Yes.
Were clogged with traffic.
That's right.
And you were in one of those left lanes to
The middle
start
one.
with, right?
The middle one, yes.
So you decided, since you weren't making the left turn and the right-hand lane was clear, you went into the right lane.
That's right.
And were tooling along. All of a sudden, he steps out of nowhere. Correct. You didn't see him.
Correct.
And your car hit him.
Correct.
Now, when your car hit him, he came up on the front hood of the car, right?
Yeah, right.
So you must have hit it pretty hard.
Well, I mean, not really, because I mean, I was going like, I'm driving like at least 20, 25. Driving.
You're lucky you're not dead.
I agree.
You're lucky you're standing here.
Yep.
No.
But he bounced up on the hood of your car.
That's correct.
And smashed your windshield.
That's correct.
How much did it cost you to have fixed?
$332.10.
So you hit him, or he hit you?
Well, we both.
You hit each other.
That's correct.
And you stopped immediately, I assume?
Yes.
Did you fall off the hood of the car, sir?
I stayed on the hood for several minutes, just sort of assessing myself, trying to feel if there were any broken bones.
Am I alive?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay. And then you slid off.
I slid off, went over to the curb. There were some good Samaritans there, some witnesses. They took care of me, sat me down on the curb, and we waited for the police.
Did you have any injuries?
After the fact, I went to my internal medicine person, and I was complaining at that time of back injuries, soreness, and so on.
You were
aches
sore
and
all
pains.
over.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've been going to a chiropractor, and so I had a back sprain, strain, and a subluxation, dislocation of vertebrae.
And you thank God every day that you're
Every
here
day,
that
absolutely.
you're here to complain about a little soreness.
You bet.
Okay. Now, you, sir, were jaywalking.
Yes, sir, ma'am. That's exactly right.
And according to you, you were, in fact, weaving in and out of cars.
That's correct. They were stationary.
So you decided to cross. You were in the middle of the street?
We were between two intersections. They were waiting for a stoplight. There were two lanes of traffic, and they were both lanes were stationary. The third lane was wide open, and I checked before I stepped into that third lane, looked both right and left, and there were no cars in that lane when I stepped into that intersection, and that's where I met Miss Roeder.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
A seemingly intelligent, mature person who's weaving in and out of cars.
I had forgotten my wallet, and I was meeting some friends at a local pub.
You mean they were proofing you for age?
Yes, I said, thanks very much.
I would go there all the time.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Lori Rotar wants Paul Settle to pay for her broken windshield after she hit him with her car.
The problem is, Ms. Rotar, when you're behind a car, you have to be a totally defensive driver.
That's right.
You got to anticipate everything. You got to anticipate children running out to get a ball.
That's right.
An animal running across the street.
That's right.
And a seemingly intelligent, mature person who's weaving in and out of cars, trying to get to the other side. By the way, were you trying to get to the other side for a really vital, important appointment?
I had forgotten my wallet, and I was meeting some friends at a local pub, and I went to the door. They said, "You need some identification."
I was flattered. I said, you need identification from me.
You mean they were proofing you for age?
Yes, I said, thanks very much.
I would go there all the time.
That's right, that's right. So I basically was going back to my car to pick up the wallet. And that was the situation.
Okay, so it wasn't an emergency?
No, no.
Okay. Well, it seems to me that but for your act, the windshield wouldn't have been broken. But for the fact that when you're driving a car, you're really almost totally responsible for what happens, you would have an intact windshield. So it seems to me you both should share the cost of this windshield.
One point that I have is, and maybe you'd like a copy of this, my cost for chiropractic care so far is $592.76. And we're really just in the middle of this situation. Now, I had been willing to chalk this up as bad luck on my part. When Miss Kinch called me on April 9th, I assumed that her insurance company would take care of the cracked windshield, and I was just going to say, well, I'm lucky that I'm alive, and call it even Steven. I figured each party was going to suffer some damages, and I was willing to pay for my own. But at this point, my damages are double what Ms. Roeder...
Let me take a look at your bills, sir. And none of these bills are covered by insurance?
They are covered by insurance. We're negotiating right now. It's supposed to be my auto insurance is covering these, supposedly. We're negotiating.
They should. Well, they should.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have them, so that you don't have any out-of-pocket expenses.
That's right. But again, it's the principle.
Well, we're not here for principle.
Okay.
Right now, we're here for dollars and cents.
Right.
And right now, you don't have any out-of-pocket expenses because your insurance is going to cover it. Now, what about your insurance? Does your insurance cover the glass on your car?
I don't know that, because it's my grandmother's car. I was just borrowing it.
I just step up.
Yes.
You're Mrs. Kinch.
Yes.
You lent your granddaughter your car.
That's right.
Never had an accident before?
No.
First?
Right.
And has been responsible with it?
Very responsible. Otherwise, I never would allow it.
Do you have insurance that covers the
Yes,
glass
I
damage?
do.
You
Yes,
do?
I do. And the deductible is $250. And the amount that we're asking for, like Lori stated, was $332. But may I make a...
Well, just a minute. How much was the replacement glass for the window?
The actual glass replacement, I went to the most economical provider I could find, and that was $288.10.
Well, where does the $332 come from?
Well, it's the filing fees and for transportation because the car could not be driven because of the broken windshield.
Well, I'm going to consider the actual out-of-pocket expense that you had, which is $288.10.
Okay.
And you have a deductible of $250, right?
Yes.
So your actual out-of-pocket expense is just $250.
Right. May I say that on Thursday, May 28th, Mr. Suttle's insurance adjuster called me and was willing to settle a claim for half the amount.
Half what amount?
Of the windshield, the cost. Well, the cost of my claim, actually, the total amount of the claim, which was $332.10.
That's an offer of settlement. You should have taken it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, if your total out-of-pocket expenses are in fact $250, because that's the cost of your deductible, and all of your medical bills are being covered, correct? You don't have at this point a counterclaim. You are always free to file a claim if it's within a certain time frame.
That's what I understand.
Right. And you didn't sue her.
I did not.
Okay. $250 is the claim. I believe that each of you are at least partially responsible for what happened. You understand that if you're driving a car, you are almost per se responsible for anything that you hit, anything that breathes that you hit.
Yes.
And it's great that you have a terrific driving record. He was wrong. You know, kids run out between cars, but adults shouldn't. That's why we have jaywalking laws.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't breaking the law. You were.
I admit I was jaywalking.
So it's going to cost you $125. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, 39-year-old cosmetologist Teresa Benson is suing survey specialist Edward Borquez, 69, because his dog bit her 9-year-old son, Aaron. Edward says Aaron's father was there and didn't think his son needed medical attention.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, it's case number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Benson versus Borquez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am, gentlemen.
All right, let me see if I can do a road map on this case. Mrs. Benson.
Yes.
This is your son.
Yes.
He was bitten by the defendant's dog.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
In the defendant's house, while he was enjoying a period of visitation with his father.
Yes, correct.
And his father at that time was seeing, or engaged to, or the boyfriend of, the defendant's daughter. Is that you?
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm a friend of hers, of Teresa.
Okay, you're not the father.
No.
He's not here.
No.
He was visiting you, is that right?
Yes.
Was your daughter at home?
Yes, he was.
What kind of a dog do you have?
A medium-sized shepherd.
Were you present when the dog bit him?
No, I wasn't. I was outside the house.
Were you present when the
Yes.
dog bit him? So why don't you step up here? Before I get to you, I'm going to speak to this young man, because I know you were there when you got bitten by the dog.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Tell me your name.
Aaron Benson.
So tell me what happened when you got to their home.
We got out and we started walking. He said something to the man, and then he opened the screen door.
Means something like hello.
Yeah, something kind of like that, and something else like that. And he opened the screen door, and I stepped in. My foot was about halfway in. The dog jumped up, bit me, and
where did the dog bite you?
In my arm, right here.
Over there?
Yes.
Now, when the dog bit you on the arm, did it go through your skin? Was it bleeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did your dad do when he saw it?
He was acting like, wasn't quite of a big deal.
Did somebody wash it off for you?
Yes,
Who did?
Maria did, and she put Neosporin on it, which is
your name
that
is
man.
Maria.
Maria.
The lady hanging. I'm sorry.
She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a nice lady.
Good. So that your dad
was acting like nothing had happened.
Like a jerk.
Kind of.
Like a jerk.
Well, I wouldn't describe my father as a jerk.
Yeah, but he didn't rush and take care of you.
No.
Maria did that. The gals took care of you.
No, but she said that he just got his rabies shots or something like that. And then
Just a second. Slowly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Maria said.
Yes, ma'am.
Maria said after she washed it off, and Maria put the Neosporin on it.
Yes. Yes,
and she covered it with a bandage?
I believe so, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Maria asked your father about whether you've gotten shots.
The dog, I guess, just got the rabies shots, I guess. That's what happened.
Oh, so Maria told your dad
yes,
that
ma'am.
the dog just got rabies shots?
Yes, I guess, because it's been a long time.
So you're really not sure?
Yes.
Did you discuss rabies shots with
Not
his
in front
father?
of him. And yes, I did talk to his father. I said there was no problem with the dog. She had already had her shots, and he said there's no problem.
Okay. Now, did your arm hurt that day?
Yes, it did. My mom took me to the hospital.
Don't tell me what your mom did. I'm
sorry.
not getting to your mom yet. This happened as soon as you walked into the house, Aaron, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, was that in the morning?
It was late afternoon, probably around 6:30, something around there.
Did you spend the evening there, Aaron?
It was probably around like 7 or something when we left.
So you went back to your mom's?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you got to your mom's,
Yes.
what did you say to her?
I can't remember.
Do you remember?
Oh, yes.
So let me hear.
Okay. My ex-husband walked in, and he was a little on the nervous side. Proceeded to tell me he had some good news, and he had some bad news.
So first he's going to give you the good news.
Right. Good news is Aaron is fine. Bad news is he was bitten by a dog. I said, did you take him to emergency? Did he get seen? No. We washed it out, and washed it out with soap and water and put Neosporin on it. And I was rather surprised to hear that he had not taken him to get medical attention. I informed him at that time because I have a medical background, that I would take him to emergency, that he needed to be seen, especially because they were bleeding, they were swollen, and they were discolored. And he, at that point, then told me that, you know, he had done his part, he was done, he was not going to have anything further to do with it. The following day, when I called the defendant to ask about proof of rabies shots, I got argument. Tried calling 4 or 5 different times and was hung up on, and then I started getting harassing phone calls from Maria, the defendant's daughter, telling me not to ever call, not to call her father, not to bother them.
Okay. What was the problem about giving her proof of the rabies shots?
She never asked me for proof. She asked Daniel, her ex-husband. Daniel called me and asked me to get copies to him. I made copies of them. I gave them to Daniel. And we did not get any kind of her asking for anything for a week or 2 after this. So there were periods of time, and actually Teresa would call and harass my dad.
Just a second. Did she at any time call and ask you for proof of the rabies shots?
No.
Did she ask you, sir? No. Did you discuss it with your husband?
I discussed it with all 3 of the people.
All right, let me see
involved.
when you took him to the emergency room, because Ms. Benson, I assume that since you're a concerned mother, and if he's bitten by a dog and it's a dog that you're not familiar with, they would have told you immediately that you would have had to have started rabies shots unless you satisfied yourself that he was in fact, that the dog was in fact inoculated against rabies. So there had to come a time when you knew that the dog was inoculated against rabies. When?
I never found out to this day. I still have never been given
any
any
Well, then you took
paperwork.
quite a chance, Miss Benson. You took quite a risk as a parent. If you didn't find out, and you're telling me that you didn't find out until this day that this dog that bit your son had not been vaccinated against rabies, that was pretty negligent on your part.
What I did was I went to the animal shelter, and they said that the dog had to be put under quarantine for 15 days, but that they had to do that. So I talked to the hospital about it. The hospital said that rabies of a child anybody getting rabies from another animal was, they gave me the odds. I don't remember exactly what they told me.
So you took the risk?
Well, I did everything I could, Your
No,
Honor.
you didn't.
I feel that I did.
You didn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The dog bit him. And you think you have no responsibility for that?
Even if they walk in the house without knocking?
Yes, even if they walk in the house without knocking.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teresa Benson says Edward Borquez's dog bit her son Aaron. Edward and witness Maria Gomez claim the bite wasn't bad enough to take him to the hospital.
Okay, so despite the fact that you took the child to the hospital, which was a very smart thing to do, what they diagnosed it as was a bite to the left forearm. Keep it clean and dry. And
there was medication
looks like
prescribed.
complete Keflex,
Yes.
which is probably very similar to Neosporin.
Right.
So it cost you $138 for the medical treatment.
Well, now it's up to $149.03 because of the interest.
Okay, so $149.03.
Right, and then I put out $9 for the Keflex out of my pocket.
Okay.
And then when I tried to approach the defendant to confront him and show him I gave him a copy of the bill, and I said, you know, listen, you don't have to, I just want to get this bill paid. And he proceeded to tell me that he had sought help from an attorney and that they would be contacting me. I waited.
And nobody ever called you?
Nobody ever called me.
So you tried to make restitution. Sir, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry.
This was your dog.
My dog, yes.
And the dog bit him.
No.
He bit the dog.
I'm sorry, yes, okay, yes.
The dog bit him. And you think you have no responsibility for that?
Ma'am, it's not that we don't think we had responsibility. Daniel told us that she's on welfare and there was no reason or any explanation why she would be getting a bill, you know, or be paying for any kind of medication because they would have covered it, and he told us that all she does is try and scam for money.
Let us assume that they do receive public assistance and they're covered by the state for insurance. She still has a right, if she wishes, to sue for a greater amount, greater than the $158 for pain and suffering, for on the child's behalf, because so far I've heard nothing that would suggest that he did anything to this dog. The dog reacted to him, maybe was startled, and jumped up and bit him. You're responsible for that.
Even if they walk in the house without knocking?
Yes, even if they walk in the house without knocking. These were not strangers. He wasn't coming in to burglarize your house. He was coming in to visit you. And your father was clearly expecting him because he saw him outside and he said hi. Or he spoke to Daniel, which was his father, and clearly he was expected. So he walked into the front door.
Well, we did, you know, Daniel said that it was fine.
Well,
Don't
Daniel
worry
said
about
that it was fine. You did a very, very foolish thing. Now, let me see your arm, please. Step up here, Aaron.
What'd you say?
Step up here. Oh, right here. This is where it was?
Yes.
Right
yes, ma'am.
there?
And then on the other side, it's little.
Where?
It's right
Because
here.
their teeth are smaller on the bottom. The big ones are over here, right?
Yes, ma'am. No, it's right here.
I know. I'm just looking at the top one again.
Okay.
You scared of dogs now, Aaron?
Yes,
Huh?
I'm terrified.
Yeah, big ones and little ones together?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Go back and stand with your mom.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a dog at home?
No, ma'am.
You have any other animals at home?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever?
I don't believe so, but I do want a cat.
What do you mean you don't believe so?
I don't
You
believe
remember?
that we have. No, we haven't had any animals.
No. Animals are really nice.
Oh, yes, we had
Most-
a fish, actually.
Most of the time, they're really nice. Okay. Have you seen his arm? You know, he does have a scar on his arm. Have you seen it?
No.
Aaron, go show
particularly.
Maria the scar and her father the scar that's on your arm.
Right there. And right there.
You know, I mean, it's not life-threatening, but it's
no,
clearly...
my son was bit by a Rottweiler on the back of his leg not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Took him to urgent care. They gave him a tetanus shot for, you know, and that was it. And this one was a bad bite. So it's not like I'm not familiar with, if I thought it was necessary, I would have taken him myself to the urgent care. If I thought that he needed urgent care.
You cannot make a judgment for somebody else's child. When you have somebody else's child, you're supposed to be twice as careful as you are for your own. In the case that you just described to me, where your son was bit by a larger dog on the back of the leg, you told me that you took him immediately to the hospital and got him a shot. This child, you washed it off, put on a little Neosporin and a Band-Aid, and sent him on his way. So what I'm telling you is, that's smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
What happened after she pulled your hair?
Put me in a headlock and started hitting me in the left side of my face. And I was trying to tell my son it's okay, because he was hysterical. And I'm trying to bend over, trying to help my son. And as I'm trying to help him, she continues to attack me.
closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Teresa Benson is suing Edward Borquez because his dog bit her 9-year-old son, Aaron.
Okay. This is your dog. You're responsible. He's got some scarring on his arm. I don't think that the matter is worth Mrs. Benson, nor were you even seeking at the time $5,000. What you were seeking from the defendant was payment of these medical bills.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
But certainly Aaron is a human being. He has even though he's a little human being, and he has the right to be compensated for being frightened. He has the right to be compensated for having a scar that's going to last for a period of time. He has right to be compensated for whatever pain that he had as a result of being bitten by the dog. So I think that you have to be compensated for your outlay of money, which was $158. And Aaron, you plan on going to college?
Yes, ma'am.
You plan on telling the truth your whole life, Aaron?
Yes,
About
ma'am.
everything you remember?
I don't get the question.
You plan on telling the truth about everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure you do.
And being an honest person.
So, we're going to give you $1,000 to start your college fund. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it's very hard to put a price on fear of dogs for your life, a price on that. But your mother was prepared to settle for payment of the out-of-pocket medical expenses.
Yes.
I think that your feelings are worth a little bit more than that. And while she's suing for $5,000, and I don't think these people are in a position to pay $5,000, based upon what I read here, I'm awarding you $1,158. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that Aaron was very well coached.
Maria is an idiot.
And I hope that his mother doesn't spend the money before he even gets a chance to use it for college.
And I'm letting her have it because she's talking about my mom, and I don't like that.
And now the next case.
Parties on Combs versus Kachura. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Leilani Combs claims she was beaten up by a friend of a friend, 25-year-old student Natalia Kachura, when she stopped to borrow a phone.
You're suing the defendant for assault.
Yes, Your Honor.
On you. And you also are suing her for some sort of emotional trauma on behalf of your son, who you say witnessed the assault.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is your son?
He's 3 years old.
I gather from your complaint that the two of you were acquainted, although not friends, that you had some mutual friends, that you had an emergency with your car broke down, you must have been near her home and decided to go to her house to use her phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
So take it from there.
She had let me in the building. I asked her if I could please use your phone. She let me in. She then got me the phone book. Then she went to the bathroom. She came out, started making accusations, saying my son was no longer allowed in her home, and I didn't understand where this was coming from. I asked her, why is he no longer allowed over here? She said that he had put gum in the holes of her closet. I asked her to explain this because he had been standing there with me the whole time. And then that's what she had done. And then after that, I had made a crude remark because and then she had attacked me. She told me to get out of her house, and she pulled my hair. And then my son was witnessing this. She put me.
She pulled your hair. And then what happened after she pulled your hair?
Put me in a headlock and started hitting me in the left side of my face. And my son was at the feet of me, and he was screaming and crying and hitting Natalia, trying to tell Natalia to get off of me. And I was trying to tell my son it's okay, because he was hysterical. And I'm trying to bend over, trying to help my son. And as I'm trying to help him, she continues to attack me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Did you seek medical treatment?
I did.
Do you have proof of medical treatment?
I do. And Honor, if you could feel this left side of my face, I know you can't see it, but it's completely bumped, like it has scar tissue under here already, and plus I'm going to have my nose done, which I have a statement from a surgeon that's going to cost me $4,000. Here's the ER report.
I assume that you reported this to the police.
I did.
Was the defendant arrested?
She wasn't, because I had talked to a detective about it, and they're having a problem working this out, because I guess when two people try to press charges, it makes it harder.
So bottom line is you are not pursuing this matter criminally?
I am. I'm still trying to. I even have a police report with the detective that I'm working with.
So you intend to pursue it criminally?
Oh, definitely.
Well, Ms. Kachura, let me just tell you before I ask you some questions and before I continue with this case, if in fact the plaintiff pursues this matter criminally, anything that you say today in these proceedings can be used against you in a criminal proceeding. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
And do you further understand that it would be my best advice to you not to continue with this proceeding until you have had an opportunity to consult with an attorney? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to speak to an attorney?
Yes, I do.
You think at this point it's in your best interest not to pursue this case until you've had an opportunity to speak to an attorney?
Yes, I do.
So you want me to adjourn this case until you have that opportunity?
Yes.
Right. When did this incident occur?
On June 10th, Your Honor.
Of this year?
Yes.
So it's a relatively fresh complaint.
Very.
And if you are going to pursue it with the district attorney, I'm going to adjourn this case for 2 months to allow you to do that. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back go to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I just hope that she can live up to what she did, and I just hope justice is served.
When someone attacks you in your home, you have to defend yourself, even though I am much bigger, but still, she came into my home and attacked me.
Owes her for rent. Tara says she left because she was uncomfortable with Nicole's boyfriend living with them.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 123 on the calendar in the matter of Wright versus Love. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat.
How long did you know each other before you started to room together?
Approximately, I'm not sure, like a month.
We met in January at a mutual friend's birthday party.
And I assume that both of you were in need of a place to live and decided to rent an apartment together.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Signed a lease?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For 6 months.
6 months. Mm-hmm.
And after less than a month,
yes,
you moved out.
Yes.
That's incorrect. It was 2 months, like 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Right.
You moved out.
Yes, on April 15th.
You want to be paid for the amount of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
How much was her rent?
Her rent for the next 3 months are it's $375 times 3 equals $1,125.
So now you tell me why you moved out.
Your Honor, I moved out because I moved in believing that it was just going to be me and Nikki living in the apartment. And from the moment I moved in, Eric, her boyfriend, was there all the time.
Is this Eric?
Yes.
This is the boyfriend?
Yes. He was there all the time. All the furniture in the apartment was her boyfriend's, not hers, not mine. I felt like...
Was Eric's furniture?
Yes. I felt uncomfortable. There were no locks. I mean, I had just felt uncomfortable pretty much from the moment I moved in, but I figured, you know...
Did you say anything to her?
I had told her that I felt uncomfortable that Eric was there all the time.
And what did she say to you?
She said that she was sorry that she felt that I felt that way and that she would not have Eric there as much. And then the situation continued.
What was your arrangement when you took this apartment together, Miss Wright?
Our arrangement was to live there for 6 months.
Who?
Tara and I were. My boyfriend was there for 2 weeks.
Why was he there?
Because he helped us move in. He helped us hang up pictures on the walls. And he was there, and her boyfriend was there just as much as Eric was there. And her friend Melissa was there also.
What do you mean
much.
was there? What does that mean was there?
When Eric stayed there, she had friends. She had Melissa stay there, her friend Carrie stay there, and her boyfriend stay there also. In fact, she went out and made copies of our keys, one for my boyfriend, one set for her boyfriend. And she had stated that, oh, I think our boyfriend should be able to come and go as they please, no problem. So she's the one that made copies of the keys.
I made copies of the keys, yes, Your Honor, but my boyfriend lived 2.5 hours away. Eric technically lived 20 minutes away.
Just a minute. When you say your boyfriend lived 2.5 hours away, how often did he stay at the house?
I would say approximately maybe 4 to 5 times slept over, because most of the time I was upset. I would call Melissa crying. I would stay at Alex's house, which was my boyfriend, crying because I felt uncomfortable. I did not want to come home. Nikki told Melissa, had a conversation with Melissa stating that Eric was moving in June 1st.
Oh, that is not
She
true.
told me that in June that she was planning on having Eric move in.
Well, he was already moved in.
Yes, but he was technically going to start paying rent in June, and that this was a great thing because it was going to make our rent cheaper, which I was not in agreement to Eric moving in.
Okay, step up here.
Your Honor.
You're Eric.
I'm Eric.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
You work?
I was going to school at the time, and I had an unpaid internship that I was doing, or that I just finished
So the
doing.
answer is you don't work?
No.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that since you don't work, you were living at home?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're her boyfriend?
Correct.
Now, what furniture was this that you moved into the apartment?
Well, we had maintained a residence together beforehand, and I had a...
Explain that to me.
We had been together for 6 months before, and we had a lease together. But because he was having this unpaid internship, he would be back home with his parents. But I didn't have any furniture of my own, so he said, yeah, you can use my couch, my chair, and my
Just
furniture.
a minute. So she is correct. The furniture that came into the apartment belonged to Eric.
Right.
And Tara knew that previously. She knew that it was going to be his furniture that we were going to use. And she was happy with it.
That's fine. Now, Eric, your girlfriend and your furniture, right?
Correct.
Are all at this apartment. Now, you're not going to tell me that with your girlfriend and your furniture in this apartment, you were living at your parents' house.
Well, it wasn't all my furniture. It was
No.
just like-
Look, Eric, listen. You're not going to stand there and tell me with your girlfriend and your furniture all in this apartment that you were living at your parents' house, are you?
Well, I was...
Yes.
Yes. I stayed at both places, ma'am.
Baloney.
Your Honor.
Just a second. That's baloney.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Eric, get a job.
Looking for a job.
If you want to live with your girlfriend, get a job.
And later today,
You're not talking about a lot of money.
Almost $100.
For the plastic lid on the stereo, $100? Break.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicole Wright claims ex-roommate Tara Love owes her for breaking a lease. Tara claims Nicole's boyfriend staying there was not part of the deal.
Can you think of any other reason, Miss Wright, why Miss Love moved out of the apartment?
She moved out of the apartment because she said we had personality conflicts. She said she moved out because we didn't get along.
And who lives with you in the apartment?
I live alone.
With his furniture?
Just a couch, a chair, and a dining room set. The bed set, the bedroom, all the bedroom furniture is my own.
Is he still your boyfriend?
He's still my boyfriend.
So why doesn't he live with you?
Because he doesn't have any money. Because he doesn't work. He had a 40-hour-a-week internship that was non-paid.
Miss Wright, I'm trying to think of the common sense of this. He's your boyfriend. His furniture is in your apartment. You had previously lived together. You don't have another roommate, and yet you're telling me that he doesn't live with you because he doesn't have any money. Is that what you're telling me?
That's
he doesn't live with you,
what I'm telling you.
He doesn't live with you because he doesn't have any money. Well, what difference does it make? You don't have another roommate. Why not have his companionship? Since you don't have anybody else living there, why don't you have him living there?
Because I didn't want to mess up the whole lease. Because when we signed a lease, which I have a copy of, it was for 2 occupants, Tara and I.
Oh, but you say at least for 2 weeks. She says for more than that. But at least for 2 weeks, he was, in fact, living there with you.
Wasn't living, he just stayed occasionally. He was there.
That's not what you told me a moment ago. You
well, he
told
was
me that
staying there. He was there.
Look, it is clear to me that there was a misunderstanding that the two of you had with regard to the ground rules of this apartment. And the understanding was that the two of you were going to live there alone together.
Right. With our boyfriends could come and go.
No.
That's what she had said.
Boyfriends could come and go is one thing. Boyfriends could come and go and stay there occasionally. I don't see anything. She's not faulting that. She's faulting the fact that Eric over here
was there for 2 weeks.
I don't believe, first of all, I don't believe that. Second of all, when you move into an apartment, you move in, she expects to have the two of you living there together alone.
Yes.
And if I believe you, which I don't, because you told me this story is with the same look on your face as you told me the story that he doesn't stay with you now because he has no money, so you're living there alone, which doesn't make sense to me. With the same look on your face. So, he moves in, and he's there for, according to you, 2 weeks. Totally unacceptable to her. According to you, the lease called for 2 people to live there, and she moved in, and the initial move-in was with 3 people. So, Eric, get a job.
Looking for a job.
If you want to live with your girlfriend, get a job so that you can help her out with the rent, so that you can legitimately live with your girlfriend and the furniture. Do you understand? Perfect. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back there to your right, please.
I felt uncomfortable living in the apartment, and I'm just glad everything's settled now.
He was never living there. He never was going to live there. We were going to live there alone, Tara and I, until our lease was up.
And now the next case.
Parties on Peterson versus Coleman. Step forward, please.
32-year-old construction worker Patrick Peterson is suing his ex-girlfriend, insurance sales rep Penny Coleman, for the return of his stereo after he left her. Penny's countersuing, claiming his father wrecked her car.
Mr. Coleman, according to your complaint, sir, you had a brief and temporary separation from your wife.
Correct.
And during that time, you met Miss Coleman.
Correct.
Began dating and, according to you, moved a lot of the stuff, your stuff, into her house, or some of your stuff into her house because he was spending a lot of time there. In January, when you decided to try to reconcile with your wife, you went back to retrieve your stereo.
Correct.
Ms. Coleman would not return it to you. You have a counterclaim that you're going to tell me about, something about damage to your car.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Peterson, did you in fact live at Ms. Coleman's home during that 3-month period?
No,
So why did you move your stereo in there?
because I've spent most of my time there, and I didn't have a lot of furniture in my house, so I was more comfortable there. That's where I spent most of my time.
Did you mind him moving some stuff into your house?
Yes, I did. In fact, when he asked to move it in, I asked him not to. I didn't think our relationship was going anywhere. He was there a lot of the time, and I said, no, you know, don't do this. And
so you didn't really want the stereo in your house?
Right.
So now, if you didn't want the stereo in your house, Ms. Coleman, why didn't you give it back to him when he left?
What happened was I told him over the phone. He didn't come to retrieve it. I told him, you owe me some money. You know, I'm not trying to be unreasonable. However, I need this as collateral. And at that time, he agreed.
What did he owe you money for?
My stereo. He broke the lid of my stereo.
So the lid for your the plastic cover?
Uh-huh.
So you're talking about a couple of dollars. You're not talking about a lot of money.
It's, almost $100.
For the plastic lid on the stereo? $100?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break. Is that what they cost?
Not that I know of.
Nah. What else?
He had, well, he wrecked my car. I took that to the
Now,
insurance.
just a second. You see, that's what your countersuit talks about. Your countersuit talks about damage that was done to your car. However, he didn't do the damage to your car.
Yeah, he did.
His father did, according to this complaint.
According to what his father says, they hit each other.
Don't tell me what his father said. Who was driving your car?
His father was driving my car. He was driving his truck, and they collided.
Were you there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you want to be compensated for the damage to your car.
Correct.
And you had a deductible.
Correct.
And how much was the deductible?
$250.
Did you agree, Mr. Peterson, to compensate her for the $250 deductible?
Well, had it been my fault, I believe that I would be responsible to pay her that, and I probably would have.
What was your father doing driving her car?
She'd been drinking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I prefer him not in my home.
You're being unreasonable, Miss Coleman.
You think?
Yes, I do.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Patrick Peterson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Penny Coleman, for the return of his stereo after he left her. Penny's countersuing, claiming his father wrecked her car.
Now you tell me how the accident occurred.
My pickup was in her driveway. He was going to put her car in a driveway. I backed out, pulled forward, and I was backing up, and my dad turned this way into the driveway.
Just let me go slow. The car is outside of the driveway. Your pickup truck is in the driveway.
Correct.
You wanted to back up your pickup truck so that your father could move her car into the driveway.
Correct.
And you knew that this was happening?
She was in the car with my father.
You were in the car with his father?
I was in the back seat. We had gone out to dinner.
Okay. You weren't feeling well? Is that why you were in the back seat?
I never drive when I've had anything to drink.
So you asked?
He was in the front seat. We had all three gone out to dinner.
Gotcha. So now you tell me. You're backing your pickup truck out. You get out of the passenger side of the car where you were driving with your father. She's in the back seat of the car.
Right.
You back the truck out. Your father does what?
I backed the truck out and pulled up against the curb. And when he was backing her car in, he hit the front of her car on the back of my truck.
So your car was stationary.
Yeah.
So your father was responsible for the damage to the car, right?
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay. And, well, if he hit your stationary vehicle, then he would be responsible for it. Did you agree to pay for the damage to the car?
Yeah, me and my father said we'd fix her car. I changed my mind after she collected a check from her insurance company, though.
Do you do car repair work?
No, but all I did is put a hole in the bumper and break the turn signal lens out.
Well, that's at least $250 worth of damage, right?
Right.
So for her to request $250 for the damage to the car is not unreasonable, correct?
Correct.
Fine. Did you fix the car?
No, I'm waiting for the $250 deductible.
How long ago did this happen?
October.
You've been driving the car for 10 months now without fixing it.
Right.
Why?
Why not? I mean, the car...
Why not? All right, here we go. Why not?
The car works. The turn signal works. It's just that if I want to resell that car, it's got a problem here. He did some damage to my car. And the other part that I'm suing on is I want somebody to come in and remove the stereo. I don't want that in there.
He's going to come in and get the stereo.
He's not. I'm going to have someone come in and take it out. He had to pull up the carpet to do it.
Pull up the carpet.
Shh, just a second. Why can't he come in to take out the stereo?
I prefer him not in my home.
Why?
I think that since he put it in there against my wishes, I would like for him to pay for somebody to come in there and remove it.
No. I don't hear anything about any domestic violence. I don't hear anything about any threats or anything else. I mean, I hear about a guy who had a three-month hiatus from a marriage, made a mistake, and is having his stereo system held hostage. Now, I don't see any reason for you to hire somebody to take out his stereo system. You have a friend or someone else who can be there when he takes the stereo system out?
I don't think that he can take it out and put my property back to what it was. I don't trust him to do that.
You let him put it in, and he put wires under your carpet?
Right, which has to be...
And he tacked it down. When he was finished?
Basically, yeah, something. I don't know that much about it.
Well, you know what your carpet looks like, Miss Coleman.
Yeah, I know what it looks like.
Oh, okay, and he was there for a while, and you didn't complain about it. So when you go and pick up the stereo, you have to put the property back to the way it was. Unless you want to pay to have somebody come and take it out, because you're being unreasonable, Miss Coleman.
You think?
Yes, I do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Court will prepare an order. How much time do you need to go and pick up the stereo, sir?
Oh, about an hour.
Give me a date when you're going to be there, sir.
Saturday would be good for me.
Is that good for you?
Afternoon.
Afternoon is a long time. I can see that. I don't want there to be any difficulty. What time Saturday afternoon? What?
Anytime between 1 and 3.
Between 1 and 3? Is that good for you on Saturday? Fine. Don't get there at 12:30.
What happens if...
Don't get there at 3:30. Between 1 and 3.
What happens if I get my stereo equipment back and it's not in good shape?
Then, sir, unless you see that it's been vandalized, and I don't think that Miss Coleman should even consider that. I mean, I assume Miss Coleman is a rational lady, that she wouldn't do anything like putting oatmeal in your stereo. You wouldn't do that, Miss Coleman, would you?
Not on a bet.
You still with your wife?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I mean, if you ever do this sort of thing again, give yourself a breather. You don't have to, jump from one place into another, because you end up hurting somebody. Exactly. You understand, Mr. Peterson?
Yes, I do.
All right. So you pick up your stereo. Now, you're going to make sure that she gets back the $250 for her car? Yes, you are, because that's going to make Miss Coleman feel a lot better. So, judgment for the plaintiff on his claim to retrieve his stereo system, which will be accomplished on Saturday between the hours of 1 and 3. And you're to leave the property exactly as you find it, nicely tacked down carpet all the way around, neat and tidy. And on the counterclaim for the defendant, $250. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Always excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
And I guess we're both going to be happy in this. It's what we both want. Just be careful of who you meet and who you trust.
I'm happy with it. It's fair. She thought I owed her money, and I didn't think I did.
She only wants the money because he dated her best friend.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Your Honor, this is case number 144 on the calendar in the matter of Baker versus Penny. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
You look like an intelligent young lady. Could you tell me why you lent him $600 to pay his rent?
I thought we were friends, and he was going to get evicted from his apartment on North Tahini Drive, and he asked me if he could borrow $600 for his rent so he wouldn't get evicted.
How
So I
long had you
loaned
been
him.
his friend?
Since I moved here, since March 1997.
Well, how long before you made this loan to him?
I didn't give him the loan until December 8th, 1997.
Didn't you have any other friends that you could ask for this money, sir?
Yes, I had plenty, but she was, at the time, we were probably best friends.
Really close?
Really close.
So why didn't you pay her back?
I was intended to at one point in time. She inherited a large sum of money. Time went on. She said, just don't worry about it. I said, no, I will pay you back.
Oh, just a second. Let's go back. You took this money from her, and you said that you would pay her back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So a month goes by, and what did you do?
Just continued on being friends, hanging out every day.
Okay.
And nothing was never said months down the line, and until...
How many months?
Many, from January to last month, May.
Never said anything to you?
Well, off and on, it was just talk, kind of like a playful thing.
Well, tell me how playful.
Well, like, what about that money you owe me? I said, oh, I know you owe me money.
Just a second. What about that money you owe me? That doesn't sound very playful to me. Does that sound playful to you?
Sounds like she wants some money.
Yeah. And what did you say?
We had a mutual agreement in May, beginning of May, that I would pay her back at the end of the month because she insisted that she had her money.
So there came a point she wasn't playing anymore.
After something happened, after an incident happened, yes.
What kind of an incident?
That I was going to go out with her best friend, and she got really jealous.
Okay.
So,
if that's true, and I don't know whether that's true or not, it's not necessary for you to respond. If that's true, that could be an incident.
Well, I was trying to hook up with her for about a month as a
Hook
friend
up with
thing.
who?
With her best friend. And she wouldn't allow it. So finally, I did it behind her back. 2 days later, I got a call being threatened that I was going to be sued. I'm like, hold on. We had a mutual agreement I would pay her end of the month.
Okay. So in May, you try to hook up with her best friend. You couldn't do it through her, so you decided to do it behind her back. Right?
Correct.
Your really close best friend, her. You went behind her back.
Yeah,
right?
Okay. We're just friends.
Okay. So you had an agreement to pay her at the end of the month. But when she found, according to you, when she found out that you were trying to date her friend behind her back, she said she wanted her money right away. Is that the idea?
Yes. And then.
So I have one question for you. So, where's the $600?
I told her I would pay her at the end of the month. She called me 2 days later, said she wanted it right then. She said, I want it in 2 days. I said, no, we had a mutual agreement end of the month. I want it now, or I'm going to sue you. I started getting threats after threats. This is my roommate, started bothering my roommate, threatening him. On and on and on. No, you have to give him this message. I'm not going to leave it on his voicemail. No, you have to. He's like, I'm not going to take his message, call his voicemail. No, you have to get my message.
So that's not a threat.
Bothering him.
She didn't say that she would draw and quarter him if he didn't give you the message. You have to give him the message.
Yeah. So finally, I called her and told her, I said, look, on her voicemail, I have a lawyer friend, and I filed a lawsuit against you. If you keep threatening me, I'm going to press charges.
When was this, sir?
That was toward the middle of May.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Penny. If this was the middle of May and you told her that you were going to pay her at the end of May, what catastrophic event was going to occur in your life in that 2-week period that was going to enable you to pay her back the $600 at the end of May?
A lot.
Well, tell me about it.
I'm a bartender. I work on tips.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working weekends.
How long had you been working weekends?
4 to 6 months.
Well, Mr. Penny, if you've been working for 4 to 6 months on weekends to pay back this debt, why didn't you say to her, May 15th, I'll give you $300 now, and I'll give you the other $300 at the end of May, because I really don't have the whole bulk of it now. So far, you haven't paid diddly squat. Why?
I told her, I said, we had a verbal agreement. I said, if you keep threatening me, I'm not going to pay you anything. But if you call me as a friendship, in friendship manner, yes, I will pay you. And then she called.
Is that coming from the guy who went behind her back to date her friend?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Gonna. What do you mean? You promised her at the end of the month. Months went by, you didn't pay her.
Exactly.
What, please, why am I wasting my time with him? I have better things to do today.
And later today.
You all go to the same barber? I mean, that's it. I'm just...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melanie Baker says her former friend, David Penny, owes her $600 he borrowed to keep from being kicked out of his apartment.
Mr. Penny, if you borrow money, you're supposed to pay it back.
Exactly. I had intentions to.
Well, you didn't. You didn't pay it back at the end of the month when you said you would initially. If you had gotten this job, if this job had come to fruition that you had intended, and instead of getting paid, let's say $1,000, you got paid $2,000, were you going to give her back $1,200 instead of $600? Huh?
Was I going to give her more?
No. Were you going to give her more than the $600?
No.
So then why should she be a partner in your misfortune? Well, who made her a partner in your misfortune? You didn't get the job, you didn't get anything. So you still owed her the money. So she waited that month, nothing happened. She kept asking you for the money. She may have not said it in an angry fashion. She may have said, tell me what you said.
No, I've actually asked him for my money repeatedly and called him on the phone, and he told me that we got in an argument about the money, and he kept blaming me for him not getting jobs and making excuses. And
what kind of excuses? Because he's already given me a few.
It's my fault I didn't get him a job through some friends of mine that work at a club, and I don't know why he didn't pay me back. He went to visit his daughter in Florida and had the money to get an airplane ticket and stay in Florida, but didn't have the money to pay me back.
And that's when I came back and I told her I would pay her once I saw my daughter. She's like, I don't care about your daughter. I want my money. You owe me the money before you go see your daughter.
Just a second. You owe a debt before
Exactly.
you buy airplane tickets to go someplace. You take care of that debt.
And I was going to pay her until she started threatening me.
Gonna. What do you mean? You promised at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Months went by, you didn't pay her.
And then we had the verbal agreement.
Then she started to threaten you.
Exactly.
Oh, please, why am I wasting my time with him? I have better things to do today. Mr. Penny, you owe her the money. Pay it. $600 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
It was after David started trying to go out with one of her girlfriends. And after that happened, that's when the money thing really, I want it now.
I just realized then he wasn't a friend. He just takes people for money. He's a liar. He's an actor. That's what he does.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ursino versus Anderson Lawrence Bigfoot. Step forward, please.
23-year-old student Kirsten Ursino is suing Jeremy Anderson, Rich Lawrence, and Bryce Bigfoot for vandalizing her home.
Miss Ursino, I found both your complaints and I certainly found your answers very difficult to understand. But what I gather is that you knew these three gentlemen.
Yes, I did.
And you invited them to come to live in your home because they had no place to stay. And not only didn't they pay rent, which you're not suing for, but when you told them to leave, they vandalized your apartment and to the tune of about $1,500. So first, let's start out. How did you know these three gentlemen?
Actually, I've known Rich for a year. We were friends last year, and then...
You all go to the same barber? I mean, that's it. I'm just curious. Huh?
We do our own hair.
Yes.
I've known Rich for a year. We've been friends for a long time, and through him, I met Bryce this year in May, actually in June, and I met Jeremy a little bit before that when he and Rich started dating back in May.
Rich is who?
Rich, and Jeremy's right next to him.
And you are?
Bryce.
Bryce.
Rich and Bryce lived in Maine. Rich had moved there last year. So when they were coming back to stay, they had asked if they could stay with me, and I told them yes, but so that I could pay my rent, instead of asking my father to help me out, because my roommate had just moved out, we would split it 4 ways, and that was agreed to.
So far, is that correct?
Somewhat.
What's wrong?
Basically, the arrangements that were made approximately a week before I came from Maine was that the first paycheck that we received from the job that we received when we got down here was going to be given to Kirsten for rent for us staying in the apartment. We were only going to be staying in the apartment until July 31st.
And when did you move in?
We moved in, I believe, June 9th was the day that we came back.
So you're going to stay there about 2 months, and you agreed to give her your first week's paycheck.
Yes.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
To pay rent.
Yes.
Correct.
So did you give her your first week's paycheck?
We weren't there when we received our first week's paycheck.
We were there for 2 weeks before we actually ended up moving out.
Yeah.
Is that right?
what they're telling you is partially true, but they lived there for 2 weeks, but the agreement was made back in May. If they got a job the day they were coming in, and I told them they had to go the next day to a temp agency and get a job the next day, so that way their rent would be the following week. But instead of doing that, they spent the 2 weeks not doing anything.
That's not
All
true.
of them?
That's not true, because with
Just a second. All of them?
Rich had gone to a deco a week and a half after he got there.
What's a deco?
A deco was a temp agency. But Jeremy actually quit his job the day Rich got there because he didn't want to go to work that night. He wanted to spend the evening with Rich.
All right, so I gather from your papers that you got disgusted with either one or all of these guys hanging around, not paying any of the bills. Okay? You bought the food, you bought everything else?
I bought the food, yeah, until they started writing checks off their accounts that were empty to buy pizza and return bad merchandise for cash.
Okay, so there came a time when, for whatever reason, you got disgusted and you told them to leave.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
On the 23rd of June, they had informed me that Jeremy would be selling a stereo that he had 2x-K, which is a horse tranquilizer that club kids use. It's a drug to sell. And I heard him out, and I went directly to Robert, which is my neighbor, and explained to him that I wasn't comfortable with that at all. I didn't like it, so I asked him if I could stay with them if I moved out of my apartment. So I moved my stuff out and I left them a nice note telling them, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with this. You know, I need you to have all of your stuff out by noon tomorrow so I can turn my apartment back over to the landlord so that they could re-rent it so I wouldn't have to pay rent. Well, unfortunately, instead of them nicely turning it back over, they destroyed my apartment, and it's going to take them a few weeks to repair my apartment before they could rent it. Thus, I have to pay another month and a half rent for the repairs and for the lease.
As far as her moving out of the apartment, ma'am, Spice Tree was taking the apartment from Kirsten
No.
because she owed a month and a half rent from when her previous roommate lived there.
And did not pay.
Which is a court case going on with that as well for $2,500 for damages rendered to the apartment by her as well.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's something that looks like it's got a real little smiley face and what looks like yellow hair. Look familiar to you?
It was there.
I don't believe you.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. College student Kirsten Ursino claims she gave Jeremy Anderson, Rich Lawrence, and Bryce Bigfoot a place to stay. She says when she forced them out, they vandalized her place.
Miss Ursino.
Yes.
Is there currently a court case involving you and Rachel?
No, Rachel owes me $235 from before.
And she was your previous roommate?
Yes.
Have you been notified that your landlord is going to sue you for any rent?
If I didn't come up with my money, yes, they were going to.
Come up with the money for what?
For the rent, for June's rent, which was the month that they were going to be living with me, and the $235 that she owed before.
Just a second. June rent, and they stayed there for 2 weeks. And the entire rent on the apartment is what?
Is $580.
$580. Yes. But they were only there for 2 weeks. So the entire rent is $580.
Right, they were only there 2 weeks because the police...
Half of that is $290. That would have been their half.
Yes.
And they were only there 2 weeks, and you told them to vacate after 2 weeks, which means that's $145.
Yes.
So for the 2 weeks that you gentlemen were there, you understand that you owe her $145.
Correct, that was understood.
Okay. Did you give it to her?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because she told us to leave, and Kirsten and I had talked on 2 occasions before the day she moved, and she said she did not know, but she was fairly sure that she was planning on not moving because she was planning on getting money at the end of the month, and she was hoping that by letting Spice Tree Apartment Complex file court papers against her, that would give her an extra 30 days to come up with the money that was due to them.
That is correct.
That was the plan that she had made with all of us.
With all of us, not only Jeremy.
And
That was discussed.
We had,
Yes, it
we had
was.
30 days up
Yes, it
until the
was.
court date was set for her eviction notice from that apartment to
That
come up
was
with the
made.
money that was owed on the apartment.
Yes. And when I said that I was willing to pawn my $700 stereo to give her money, she was ecstatic about getting money from me.
That stereo was actually, he had stolen a watch to get that stereo and then returned the
That is a
stereo
lie.
for...
Well, that's a lie anyways.
Ooh, sounds like everybody is trying to scam somebody.
Exactly.
Everybody.
That's what the
Yeah,
lawsuit
that's what
is
it
all
comes
about.
down to.
Everybody. Gentlemen, I'd like you to take a look at these photographs, please. Just
Okay.
take a look at them. What kind of work are you doing now?
I work for Washtenaw Community College as an office assistant for the Humanities and Arts Department.
And what do you do, sir?
I'm still without a job.
You're still looking.
Yes.
Some people look for a long time.
Exactly.
And what do you...
I was a waiter until we had to move away from Kirsten's apartment because the job was right by her apartment and it's too far for me to travel right now.
So you're looking too?
Yeah.
Where are you living?
I'm living in Ypsilanti right now, which is...
Our With friend, whom?
Alexis.
Our friend Alexis.
How are you paying Alexis?
They're not.
The money, his job, he has been...
I'm paying
he's
my rent with my job.
Exactly.
So that you're not paying Alexis and you're not paying Alexis.
But that's all understood and Alexis understands
Listen to
right
me.
now.
How old are you?
21.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
I'm 21.
You know, you can't sponge off people forever. You're talking about you got here in June, get a job, collect cans. I don't care what you do. Clean bathrooms, do something. You gotta support yourself. You can't live off women. Who feeds you?
I find ways to feed myself.
Like how?
Well, friends take me out to dinner, all kinds of things.
Who feeds you?
I'm eating at Alexis's house most of the time, which
So
is the girl
Alexis
that we're living
feeds
with.
you?
Correct.
Now, Mr. Sino, there were a lot of what appeared to be cigarette burns and furniture.
Yes.
Were any of those there before these three gentlemen moved in?
There was one cigarette burn in the center seat cushion of my sofa that my previous roommate had caused. All of the ones along the back were done that evening.
There's one there that looks like it's got a smiley face on
Yes,
it.
that was actually lighter fluid. There was a broken lighter on the sofa. According to the police officer, he said that it looked like they had poured lighter fluid.
Don't tell me
and
what
it
the
smelled
police
like lighter
officer
fluid.
said.
It smelled like lighter fluid when you got close to my sofa.
Any of that sound familiar to you?
No. I do not smoke.
You don't necessarily have to smoke to make a smiley face and light it up. There's something that looks like it's got a real little smiley face and what looks like yellow hair. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Didn't that look familiar to you?
It was there.
It was there. I don't believe you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Oh, I have a feeling that all you young people deserve each other. You know, when people talk to me about, oh, they're an adult, they're 21 years old, I say, adult, they're 21 years old. They're morons. I mean, you invite these three characters into your house, they have no job, you're feeding them, right? They're off doing whatever they're doing, feeding themselves from whatever resourceful little activity they can find. And they go from female to female until they get on their feet. What character building? All right, Ms. Yusino, I think that you got a couple of lawsuits going. I think that you're looking to cover some of your bases. You're not going to get your $1,500. They owe you $145 in rent. You probably paid for some of their food and some of their other expenses. And I believe that they did a certain amount of damage to your property. All right? So I'm awarding you $250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
They're getting their way. They get to sponge off somebody again, and I guess they're going to do that their whole lives because that's what they get. That's what they're good at.
You're innocent until you're proven guilty. That's all we have to say.
Her car with his fists, denting it. Daniel says she was speeding, endangering his children.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 52 on the calendar in the matter of Bentley versus O'Brien. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Bentley, according to your complaint, you were driving to your job, a job that you frequently drove to.
Every day.
Every day. You were a dog walker?
Dog sitter.
Dog sitter.
walker.
And you had to pass the defendant's house in order to get to that job. Is
Yes,
that
I
right?
did.
According to your complaint, Without provocation, the defendant attacked your car by punching, hitting your car, causing damage to the car.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien, you seem to indicate in your answer that you did, in fact, hit the plaintiff's car.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
That you did so in anger.
Yes, I
and
did.
you were justified.
I feel so.
So why don't you start by telling me what happened, Miss Bentley?
I was going to my job, which is a house up prior to theirs. I started to go by their home, and his wife ran out and started calling me an effing pig and a slob, and said I was going too fast up her road, that this was her driveway, and she was going to call the police. So I just drove by, went in the house, and I happened to look down at her, and I said, I'm sorry I wasn't going that fast, because she wasn't stopping. I was petrified of her. I had no way out of this house. If I needed to get out, I was afraid.
You mean it's a common driveway?
It's a common driveway, yes. And,
so you have to pass their house in order to get to your place of employment?
Exactly. I got up there.
How fast were you going?
You can't go more than 5 miles an hour, if that, up that road. I have pictures here, Your Honor, of the driveway, of the road to go up. It's a gravel, small, one-way driveway, hilly, curvy. I can't go more than 5 miles an hour if I wanted to.
So what happened?
So I got up there. I told Tracy, the dog, that we could not go down through there. I was too afraid. Took her out in the backyard to go to the bathroom, proceeded to finish my job, to leave and to go back down, and proceeded to drive down slowly, and he came running out like an animal. I'm shaking standing here next to him at this point right now because I'm petrified of him. And started screaming profanities at me, and I just looked at him and said, I'm not stopping, I'm afraid. He proceeded to come around, bash my car twice with his fist, bash my window. I don't know how he didn't go through my window with his fist, and hit the back end of my car. And at this point, I proceeded to just go down to the end of the road and call the police. And they came.
And this was the damage that was caused to the car?
Exactly.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien?
My story is a bit different, Judge. My wife had just come home. The children were in the middle of our driveway, which is no more than 8 or 10 feet wide.
You're lying.
Shh. Miss Bentley.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
They were walking down towards me. They were behind a brush pile of wood. My wife yelled, there's a car coming, fast. I yelled to them to come. They started to run. There was absolutely no way that this woman could have seen those children, unless she's got x-ray vision, behind the brush. They got to me, and then this gold car drove by, certainly not at 5 miles an hour, because I had never seen this car go 5 miles before. So essentially...
How fast do you think that the car was going, sir?
I would say 20 or 25.
20 to 25 is still not speeding. Is there a speed limit posted?
Well, the posted speed limit on Mill Road, which is the nearest road, is 15 miles an hour.
Is 15?
15.
All right.
So essentially, the car went by me. My wife was in the middle of our driveway, in front of our house, and I will defer to my wife because she's the one that really dealt at that point with the plaintiff.
May I interject, Your Honor?
Sure. I was out of it.
I'm Sharon O'Brien. 20 to 25 miles an hour on a very narrow driveway, whether who owns it or not, with 2 children, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, as you see, Your Honor, is excessive speed.
Okay.
I walked out.
I could not
the children.
have gone 25 miles an hour on that road.
The plaintiff, Your Honor, I ran out. The children ran down the hill. There's pictures, if you have the
They
pictures.
were not even there.
Listen to me, Miss Bentley. They were quiet when you were testifying. Is that right?
Yes, I'm sorry, but they're
so
lying.
Listen to me.
I'm
they
sorry.
were quiet when you were testifying. You have to be quiet. Now it's their turn.
Okay.
Good.
I had come back from the park with the children, came out of the garage. Children ran down the hill to see their father. I heard the car come and yelled, stepped in the middle of the driveway, said, slow down. I did not swear, Your Honor. I had a tendency to swear, but I did not at that point. The plaintiff plowed through me. I stepped out of the way for fear of my life. She went to the house beyond us, which is about a half football field length. She got out. I had yelled to her, because I have a mouth, slow down or I'll call the cops. She said, shut up. I said, I will not shut up, you pig. I'm on my property. It's a gravel driveway. Again, Your Honor, it's not very wide. I have 2 children. I have signs that say slow down. I was feeling she's endangering the welfare of my minors, and that's where I stood. I was an angry mother. I was protecting my children, and I feared for their lives, Your Honor, and no one in the 11 years that I lived there have ever violated and has sped the way this woman has. And I'm the one who was afraid, and my husband was just defending, you know, he's a bear defending his wife and his cubs. I'm sorry.
I understand how you feel, But Mr. O'Brien.
I did not utter a word to this woman.
You're
I
not
put my
here.
hand like this, and she just kept on coming. And indeed, when she came, I put my hands on the car, and then I did hit it, yes. I cannot stand here and deny that I didn't hit it.
So, Mr. O'Brien, here's what we got. Assuming that she was going between 20 and 25 miles an hour, which is fast, because if you hit a child going 20 or 25 miles an hour, you can kill him.
Exactly.
Truth of the matter is, Mr. O'Brien, if you hit a child going 5 miles an hour, you can kill them.
Exactly.
I understand your frustration. You can't do this to her car, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not saying you were speeding going 65 miles an hour, madam, but you can go 15, 20, 25 miles an hour without hitting your head against the top of the car.
Yeah.
And later today,
he's just jumping around on his porch, cussing and fussing.
I can quite frankly, Mr. Metcalf, see that he could be a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Your Honor.
Speak not, Mr. Scully.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Colleen Bentley says Daniel O'Brien dented her car with his fists. Daniel says she was driving too fast and he was protecting his family.
From Miss Bentley's perspective, she's driving a car. Assume she's driving at 20 miles an hour. She sees you coming out there. She's just had a verbal altercation with your wife that got relatively heated. She's a woman alone in a car. She sees you coming out, telling her to stop. To be quite honest with you, Mr. O'Brien, I wouldn't stop. Because I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how mad you are. I don't know what kind of Looney Tune you are.
Exactly.
I don't know. No, I really don't know. Now, Miss Bentley. First, you're going to show me the estimates for the damage to your car.
I also have a police report. I don't know if you want to see that.
No, it's not
Okay.
necessary. Mr. O'Brien's got the scope. He understands everything.
Okay.
Did you have the car fixed?
Not yet, Your Honor, no.
Uh-huh. You have insurance on the car?
Yes.
What's your deductible?
$500.
So your real out-of-pocket expense of $500. So, Miss Bentley, he was absolutely wrong.
Thank you.
To attack your car. I wasn't there. You can understand, however, that he's got two little kids who he felt threatened by your car going up this road too fast. Now, you say you couldn't have been going more than 5 miles an hour. I would probably estimate it was somewhere in between.
You can't, there's a dip there, so you can't.
I'm not saying you were speeding going 65 miles an hour, madam, but you
Right.
could go 15, 20, 25 miles an hour without hitting your head against
Yeah, I
the top
was
of the car.
petrified. Yeah.
Right? So, I mean,
I was scared.
You were scared, so you were going faster. Mr. O'Brien and Mrs. O'Brien do not strike me as being lunatics. He did a foolish thing, but he doesn't strike me as being a lunatic. So, you have to be careful when you drive a car. You never know where little kids are going to come from. Mr. O'Brien, I said to you, I understand your frustration, sir. You cannot deal with it this way.
I had no intentions of doing it,
Good.
Judge.
Even your wife knows she dealt with her words. She probably used a lot of words.
Could have. From the New York area, Your Honor, I held my tongue.
Okay. This you can't do. So it's going to cost you $500. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $500, which is her out-of-pocket expenses. Thank you.
If you're excused, you may step out.
It's over. She's gone, and we don't want any more of her.
I'm scared just standing here next to him, to be honest with you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Scully versus Metcalf. Step forward, please.
47-year-old truck driver David Scully claims next-door neighbor, 43-year-old city worker Timothy Metcalf, assaulted him. Timothy says his neighbor left grass clippings on his driveway.
How long have the two of you been neighbors?
Since he moved in, which he'll have to answer that. I can't remember exactly.
So you were there first?
Yes.
How long have you been living in this house?
I've been living in my house since 1990, Your Honor.
Okay. And you had a complaint. And your complaint was that he mowed his lawn and got some of his grass clippings on your clean driveway.
Right. Dave came out and blew all his stuff over in front of my property.
So you went over to his house.
I went over, that's correct.
And then it sort of gets fuzzy because you claim that he assaulted you and he claims that you actually assaulted him. So why don't we start from there? Mowing your lawn.
Right. I have a picture of the front lawn. As a matter of fact, if you'd like to see, there's a 1-foot wall separating our property at the ground level, and there are dense shrubs separating our property at eye level. If you'd care to take a look at the...
Sure. You mean this brown part is your lawn?
Is it brown? I didn't really notice.
Pretty brown. Just
Okay.
feed it. So there's a little wall that separates the two houses.
12 inches high.
Okay. You mowed your lawn. It's got the little thing that blows all the grass all over the place because it doesn't collect the grass, right?
Correct. Would you like me to tell you how that happened?
Sure.
Okay. Well, as I said in my statement, I mowed the lawn, and there is that barrier, both...
I heard about the barrier.
and the
Can we move
visual
on? I have
barrier.
other cases.
I went inside for about 20 minutes watching TV. The bell rang. I came outside. There's my neighbor, Timothy Metcalf. I asked him what he wanted, and he was not over there for discussion. He said...
Just tell me what he said.
Would you like me to tell you how he said it, too?
Yes,
I'll
I
try
will.
to imitate him. Hey, man, I just went over there and I cleaned my driveway, and you mowed your lawn, you got grass clippings all over it. You know I just cleaned it, and you did it on purpose. Now get over there and clean it up. And that's exactly how it happened, Your Honor.
So then what happened?
I was standing right at my front door, and I said, I really don't appreciate you coming over here speaking to me this way, giving me orders like that. Then he said, hey, man, I had enough of your shit, man. I can kick the shit out of you, man. And I said, well, you think you can. I know I can, man. Hey. Then what he did is he reached down with his left hand, because he carried either a phone or a walkie-talkie or a radio, and hit me in the side of my head, and I have pictures here to show you the results. I grabbed him. We tussled. I took him to the ground. I held him down. And as soon as I got him down, I started calling for somebody to call the police. Finally, his family and the neighbor across the street came over, and I got off of him. Even then, as soon as I got off of him, I separated myself as quickly as I could, went across to the other end of my driveway by the sidewalk, and they had to hold him back. He's getting up, let me at him, let me at him. Finally, his wife escorted him back to his house, and that's exactly what happened, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Whether you like him or not, whether he's a pain in the neck or not, whether he's a good neighbor or not, whether he's like a boil on your behind or not, you can't go over and hit him.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. David Scully claims next-door neighbor Timothy Metcalf hit him in the head. Timothy says his neighbor made a mess of his driveway.
Okay. Mr. Metcalf, I'll hear you, sir.
Your Honor, my wife and my daughter went outside, attempted to start sweeping the stuff up that he had blew all over in front of our house. He came outside, stood from here to there, and started chanting to them, you know, as to humiliate them.
No, just a minute. What did he say?
Just some kind of, like he was talking in tongues, singing, you know, making fun of them.
Just a second. Mr. Metcalf, I'm having a difficult time following you because you are drawing conclusions. You're not telling me what you heard, sir.
Okay. I waited about 15 minutes. I went over. I knocked on the door. I said, Dave, I go, you know, I don't understand why you just did what you did. I go, you seen I just was out here for over 2 hours. He told me, in his words, he didn't see no problem with it, that he would do it again, and that if I couldn't come over and talk to him in a better way, I need to get the F off his property.
Okay.
But I did not go over, cuss him. I did not threaten him. I did not go over with no intentions to fight this man.
What you're telling me, Mr. Metcalf, is you spoke to him at that moment in the exact same tone of voice as you're talking to me? Is that what you're trying?
No.
Is that what you want me to believe?
No.
Of course not. I didn't think that you would want me to believe that, Mr. Metcalf,
No,
because
not at all.
that's not true. So what happened after you said, why are you doing this?
And so then he just started cussing and going off. The next thing I know, he's just jumping around on his porch, cussing and fussing. And I was like, hey, you know, I just came over to talk to you about what you had done.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I know, he drew back to hit me. And the next thing I know, we were fighting. And David was on top of me,
Just a second.
trying to bite me.
When did you hit him with the phone?
I did not take a phone over there, Your Honor. Those injuries, David, occurred during the scuffle when he jumped on me and took me to the ground.
Your Honor?
Yes.
You see the blood coming down on the side of the face. That was caused by him striking me with a phone or whatever object he hit me with.
Well, there did come a time when you were both going at it, going at each
after
other.
he hit me, I grabbed him.
I understand that.
Yes, Your Honor.
After, the question is, who struck the first blow?
Well, I can answer
That's
that.
I'm not asking you to answer that.
Yes, sir.
I know the answer to that question. He did.
I did not strike him, Your Honor.
I think you did.
Why is it not possible that he attacked me and I, did not hit him?
Do you want to know why, Mr. Metcalf? I'm
Why?
going to tell you why, sir.
Why?
Because life is a series of events that usually have a common sense theme that runs through it. You had just spent, according to you, 2 hours making sure that your property is pristine. Everything is perfect. He comes out and messes up the property that you've just cleaned up. And then if I continue to believe you, your wife and your daughter were humiliated by him when they went outside to clean up this mess that he had made. And not only humiliated by him, but if I believe you, Mr. Metcalf, you heard him outside whistling or singing to further humiliate your wife, whom I assume you love, and your daughter, whom I assume you love. Then, according to you, you spend 15 minutes having a discussion with yourself in the garage about what to do about this situation. And then you decide to go to his house and confront him. Now, all those things put together, common sense suggests to me that you did not go over there really angry. Now, he may not be a terrific neighbor. I can quite frankly, Mr. Metcalf, see that he could be a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Your Honor.
Speak not, Mr. Scully. I can see that. That's not why we're here.
Right.
We're here because he alleges that you came to his home and assaulted him. And whether you like him or not, whether he's a pain in the neck or not, whether he's a good neighbor or not, whether he's like a boil on your behind or not, you can't go over and hit him.
Your Honor.
So, say nothing. You don't want to say anymore, Mr. Metcalf. I'm telling you that I've just made a determination based on all the reasons I told you why I believe that as much of a nudnik as he might be, you assaulted him, and you can't do that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, let me hear about your injury, sir.
First, if I may object to I don't know how much time you want to give this. I'd like
Just
to
a second.
to several issues.
Just a second. I don't have any more time.
Okay.
I asked you a question. There are two determinations in an assault case, sir.
Okay, one of the injuries.
Hey, do you see my mouth moving?
Okay.
What? Hey. A, who assaulted whom? I've already made that decision. B, the issue of damages. You are suing for almost $5,000. I asked to see medical bills for medical treatment.
No medical bills.
I have seen none because you say you treated yourself, which means that your injuries were not severe.
You're right.
Good.
I'd like him to apologize and to admit
He's
that
not going to apologize,
Okay.
Mr. Scully, but he's going to pay $500 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think the man has problems. He's a violent person. He needs help.
He runs around in fatigues, doing push-ups in the middle of the street.
The man is jealous of my family, myself, and the way that we live.
Wants his ex-fiancée, Felicia Wilson, a nurse, to return her engagement and wedding rings. Felicia says she already gave the rings back.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 110 on the calendar in the matter of Brewer versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Brewer, how long were you acquainted with the defendant before you became engaged?
About 2 years. I had been employed at the medical center, and she was a nurse at the same center.
How long did you date before you became engaged?
About 3 months.
And according to your complaint, you bought some engagement rings.
Yes.
Did you go shopping for it together?
We went together, and she picked it out. And I just stood back and watched because she had made the comment that that was the binding contract for our relationship to be a solid union.
Well, you must, Mr. Brewer, you must have said, will you marry me? Does that sound familiar? At some point, you must have said, will you marry me?
I did after she encountered the comment that in order for us to be a bond, that we need to make this a continuity thing. And I said, yes, I'll do that in order to make this a binding thing. I want to get us married and so we can have something to go on. But like I said, 2 years prior to meeting her, I only met her in coordination of going back and forth through my job.
So you really dated for 3 months, although you knew her for 2 years.
Right.
You went shopping for the rings together, is that right so far?
That's true.
Bought the ring. How much did you pay for the rings?
It was $2,600.
Okay. And then the engagement was broken.
Yes. We went to a concert and she got, I found out that she had a drinking problem and I didn't know that. And it became more and more aware of it by the fact that she began to act violently. Like we went to a concert and the concert was Yanni and she stopped the show. She went up on the stage and actually stopped the show.
Is that true?
No, that is not true.
Did you go to a concert, a Yanni concert?
Yes, we went to a concert.
What happened there?
We just left the concert because of his behavior, because we could not get along. We were starting to...
I'm sorry.
We had already been having some disagreements, and we just could not connect as to what we should do in the concert.
Okay. Let's pass the concert and let's go on to the broken engagement.
Okay.
For whatever reason, you decided it was not a good idea that you marry. Is that right?
How that ended is what we had got an apartment together. She couldn't get an apartment. She said she wanted to get away from her household because she was having problems there, and she wanted to develop into more of an adult. And so we were going to make that move, and then when she came in, she wanted to buy clothing because she wanted to take a trip. She bought clothing, and we just did a whole lot of things together. And during the situation, at the end is when I had gotten financially just diluted to the point that I didn't have anything left. She said that she didn't want any more to do it. I told her because we couldn't pay the bills. We couldn't pay the bills.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, we were.
How long had you lived together?
For about a month.
You decided that you weren't going to marry.
She decided that.
She decided. Tell me about that moment when you told him that you didn't want to marry him.
Well, first off, we had irreconcilable differences. Lavelle, he was extremely verbally abusive. He was manipulative. He tried to control my accounts. He wanted to control my finances. I had gotten an apartment by myself. I had moved in. A few days later, he moved in with me. So I told him that I would pay all the bills, which I did. I paid for the rent.
You only lived together for a month.
Which is true.
Okay, so you only lived together for a month. We're not talking about the national debt. Okay. You decided you didn't want to marry him. According to him, you broke it off. Tell me about that evening or day when you told him you didn't want to marry him.
I told him that I can't take this anymore. No matter what I do, it was never enough. I couldn't take him.
So you told him you didn't. What did you do with the rings when you told him you didn't want to marry him?
I gave him the rings back.
No, she didn't. No,
I put the rings in his hands. I told him, I do not want to marry you anymore. I cannot take this abuse at all.
Then why, Miss Wilson, would you think that he filed this lawsuit against you for the return of the rings?
I'm astounded that he filed this lawsuit against me. I am totally shocked.
Did you buy these rings on time? Were you paying them off, or did you pay for them all at one time?
Oh, no, I'm still paying them.
Let me see the proof that you're still paying for them.
I just got the proof that I purchased. I didn't bring the paperwork that I'm still paying for them because I have that. I'm paying through it through consumer credit.
It would certainly have been helpful, sir, to establish to my satisfaction that you are still paying off these rings.
I filed bankruptcy and they told me that I couldn't pay them off. I had to turn the rings back in. And so then I had to go to Consumer Credit to put it in, and all they gave me was a number. They didn't give me a... I started to bring that, but it didn't have anything to...
When did you file for personal bankruptcy?
About a year afterwards, because they told me,
Why did you file for bankruptcy?
Because she had ran up all my credit. I had all my credit cards ran up to the end. I had furniture that I had bought for her that I also couldn't pay, and I was...
Who has the furniture?
She has the furniture.
Do you have the furniture?
I don't have his furniture. I have my own furniture.
Who paid for it?
I paid for it. I paid for it cash.
How much was this furniture that you purchased?
The furniture I purchased was approximately $2,500 because I brought living room, dinette set. That's what I purchased.
And you paid for that in cash?
I paid for it in cash because I was scheduled to go on vacation this year. So I used my vacation money to move into the apartment because he didn't even put any money down on an apartment.
You used your vacation money. Go ahead.
I used my vacation money to move into the apartment and to purchase the furniture for the apartment.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
The apartment was $835 a month.
Okay. And you had to put down security, another $835?
True.
And you purchased furniture, according to you, of $2,500.
True.
Okay, all in 1 month.
True.
Now, would you tell me what your annual salary is at this nursing job?
$60,000 a year.
Is that what you were earning when you were together?
Yes, I was.
How long have you had this job for $60,000 a year?
11 years.
Have you ever been away from your job?
In terms of?
Illness?
Yes, I have.
When?
I was away from my job first off, and the second off will be 1996.
And that was for hospitalization?
Yes, it was.
Prior to that, when were you hospitalized?
I was hospitalized approximately in 1993.
Is that the same hospital?
Different hospital, but same circumstances.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
You say she broke your camcorder when she was taking some pictures. So you're holding the Brady Bunch board game as hostage. How much did you pay for that board game?
$375.
You're kidding me.
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Laval Brewer Jr. claims his ex-fiancée, Felicia Wilson, didn't return her engagement ring after they broke up.
You know what the diagnosis is for your illness?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Manic depression, bipolar disorder.
You take medication for that?
Yes, I am.
Since 1996, have you had a recurrence?
It was in 1997. That's the last time I was hospitalized.
How much after the breakup of your engagement were you hospitalized?
It was approximately 9 months after the breakup.
What was the date of the breakup of the engagement?
I believe it was around about May. It was right after we had come from Ensenada, and she had had an erratic, she just started throwing things at me for no reason. And then when she came back, she apologized and said everything will be okay. And
Mr. Brewer,
right after that, we broke up.
Mr. Brewer, did you know that Miss Wilson had a history of psychiatric disorder?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. She told me that after we got together and we were dating, then she told me. But I didn't know it prior to that.
What did she tell you?
She told me that after we got together and we moved into the apartment, then she told me, she says, this is where my doctor is. And I'm saying like, okay. And he says, because sometimes I have this problem, and this way we're close to where we can go to him and it won't be far away. And then that's when I found out what she had been committed for.
Mr. Brewer, Miss Wilson says that at the time that the relationship was terminated, she took the rings and put them in your hand. Is that true, sir?
No, that's absolutely a lie. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Miss Wilson, have you had any contact with each other since your relationship terminated?
I haven't spoken with him in over almost 3 years.
What school were you going to, by the way?
Cal State Dominguez.
For what?
I was obtaining my degree in nursing.
You mean you didn't have a degree in nursing before?
Well, I have my associate's degree. I graduated from a 2-year college. Then later on, I went back for my baccalaureate degree.
And did you get it? Did
Yes,
you graduate?
I did. Yes, I did.
In what year?
I just graduated. I finished all the courses. I graduated 1998 of May.
And you're telling me that as a recent graduate, a recent nursing graduate, you're making $60,000 a year?
Yes, I am telling you that.
Now, can you think of any reason, Miss Wilson, why Mr. Brewer would want the return of the engagement rings that he said he gave you if you had already returned them to him?
Perhaps he's still holding a grudge or something. I really don't know, because I thought that the relationship had ended with me giving him the rings back. So I'm really shocked that he is suing me for this amount.
Well, I have to make a judgment at this time based upon common sense and based upon my evaluation of the parties as to who I believe. Quite frankly, Mr. Brewer, I believe that you never got the rings back.
That's true, Your Honor.
And Miss Wilson is not going to be forthcoming with those rings, wherever they are. So you are entitled to the rings back because the contract of marriage was broken. According to the defendant, she broke the contract. But it really is irrelevant who decided to terminate the relationship, because in all probability it would have ended in disaster. So you're both probably better off. But she had the responsibility of returning the rings, and quite frankly, madam, I do not believe that you returned them. So I am awarding the plaintiff the amount of $2,599, which is the cost of the rings. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We went to the concert, and she stopped the concert. We went to a couple other incidences that showed that she was not wrapped tight.
Perhaps he still has some feelings. I'm not sure. I wish him well.
And now the next case.
Parties on James versus Morgan. Step forward, please.
24-year-old toy collector Marcy James claims former friend, 24-year-old film student Ben Morgan, refuses to return her collector edition Brady Bunch game. Ben says she can have it back when she pays for his broken camcorder.
How long have the two of you been friends?
Since kindergarten.
You went to a party at his house and you had just bought a board game.
That's correct.
That board game?
That's correct.
A vintage board game?
Yes. Very collectible.
You're into collectibles?
That's right.
I assume you brought me some of the other things that you collect.
Brady Bunch collectibles. Yes.
Isn't that terrific? And you brought it to your house to show your friends?
Yeah, she had just bought this a few days prior and wanted to show me.
And while you were at the party, according to your answer, sir, she got a little tipsy, was taking pictures with that camcorder over there.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's a pretty old camcorder. Looks like a dinosaur. Right?
It used to work, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If she fell with the camera,
yes,
and the sound goes out and the video goes, blippy,
yes,
it's broken.
Did you see her break your camcorder?
No, Your Honor.
Good!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcy James claims former friend Ben Morgan refuses to return her collector edition Brady Bunch game.
You say she broke your camcorder when she was taking some pictures. So you're holding the Brady Bunch board game as hostage. How much did you pay for that board game?
$375.
$375.
And I have a receipt for it.
Need the receipt for it.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a toy collector.
A toy collector?
Yes.
So you make a business of that, and when you do, resell them?
Yep.
How many years have you been making a living at this?
Almost 10 years now.
You're kidding me?
No.
Okay, so it's clear that's her board game. Now, tell me, sir, about this
That is not the condition it was when I had taken it to his house for the party. It was in, because I had just gotten it like the week before. It was in plastic wrap. I mean, this looks totally
It was like in a plastic bag, not like it was brand new.
Miss James, you left it there. There was a party going
But
on.
it's like smashed. It's
Listen
like,
to me. Listen to me, madam. Okay. You've been in this business, you said, for a decade.
Yeah.
You want to keep your things in pristine condition, you keep them in the bag, and and when you leave the house, you take them with you.
Well,
But what?
Well, he said he was going to hold on to it, and I went to pick it up the next day.
Why did you go the next day? Why didn't you take it that night?
Because I didn't want to carry it, I guess.
Because you were drunk.
Give me a break. Come on. So, what makes you think she broke your camcorder?
Well, the day after the party, I was cleaning up, and I found my camcorder. It wasn't where I left it, and as you can see, it looks like this now. Like this thing won't shut.
Fine, it won't
and, like,
shut.
the wires are like
and
all,
the wires are out. What makes
up.
you think that she's responsible for the condition of your
Because
camcorder?
when I took the tape out from the camcorder to watch it in my VCR, the very last thing on the tape is her taping stuff, and like she falls. Like you totally see it in the video. She falls in it, like, and that's when it broke.
Well, how do you know that's when it broke?
Because it worked before that, and no one else used it.
How do you know no one else used it? How do you know no one else touched it?
Because there's nothing else on the tape.
So what?
I put it back in my closet.
You know, Mr. Morgan, you're going to tell me a lot of baloney stories, just like she's going to try to tell me a lot of baloney stories. I'm going to throw you both out of here. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir? What I'm saying to you is, did you see her break your camcorder?
No, Your Honor. I
Good!
did not.
And the only circumstantial evidence that you have is that you believe that she was the last one to tape on it.
If you would watch the tape, Your Honor, it shows her taping with the camcorder, and she falls, and
How,
it totally
how can you
and
see
it
that
breaks.
she's? How can you see her taping?
And you hear her voice, and you hear someone say, "Marcy, what are you doing?" or "Marcy," and that's when she fell.
Let us assume she fell.
Yes.
And then you don't hear anything else on the tape.
Right, because it broke. The sound went out after that.
Then you don't hear anything else on the tape.
But the video kept going.
So what?
So if she fell with the camera,
yes,
and the sound goes out, and the video goes, blippy,
yes,
it's broken.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
And how many other people used it?
No one.
How do you know that?
When I was done
How do you know that?
Because I put it back in my room. I put it back in my closet.
You got an answer for everything. You put it back in your closet. You mean she went to your closet and got it out of your closet?
That she must have.
Did you go to his closet?
She knows
Did you
where
go
all
to his
my...
closet and take the camcorder out of his closet?
No.
No. Oh, please, do me a favor. Listen to me. You see that Brady Bunch board game? I don't know where these people are coming from. Give it back to her. Perfect.
If you could see how she was at the party, like...
Excuse me.
Now you have your
Look
board.
at it. It's totally ripped. This is not worth...
Listen, you got to take better care of your things, people, both of you. Now you have the board game back. Now you have your camera back. Goodbye.
I just had excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
My husband was just a bear defending his wife and his cubs.
The day the dog sitter met the neighbors head on.
I don't know how mad you are. I don't know what kind of Looney Tune you are.
Real people, Judge Judy.
Look at this. It's totally, that was not even like that.
Good, hello, this wasn't like this either when you broke it.
Look at it, it's so fake. You probably like broke that yourself.
Hello, it won't even shut.
We haven't spoken in 5 months, so that's been kind of weird because we usually talk on a daily basis.
I'm tired of like taking all this abuse, from supposedly my best friend.
Hit him in the face and damaged a storm door during a child visitation exchange. Bob Newsom is countersuing for supporting James's daughter.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Besmirtnik versus Newsom.
Whitebird.
Fine, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Besmirtnik, it appears that you are the father of a child. This is your former wife?
That's correct.
You are the current fiancé of the former wife.
That's true.
Your suit alleges, sir, that this gentleman assaulted you during a visitation with your daughter.
That's correct.
That he hit you in the face, hurt your eye. You are countersuing because you say that you have provided support that the plaintiff was supposed to provide for the child, and because he hasn't been providing that support for the child, you have.
That's true.
When were you divorced from this lady?
I don't remember the actual date. I would say probably around
Give me
June,
a month and a year.
Probably around June of June of 97.
A decade.
June of 97, I believe.
June of 97. And when were you married? What month and year? To her?
To her, December 3rd.
Of what year?
96.
So you were married not for a long time.
Correct.
And your daughter had been born already?
Yes.
When you got married. How old is your daughter? 5?
She's 8 now.
8. You have visitation with her?
Yes, I do.
Is that pursuant to a judgment of divorce?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you arranged for visitation, sir, with your former wife on this particular weekend. And what was the arrangement that you made with your former wife?
The arrangement that her and I had made, we discussed that evening as I was picking my daughter up, that she would be coming back out to pick my daughter up that Sunday, the day the incident occurred.
This was a weekend visitation?
That's correct.
And you spoke to your former wife, and the arrangement was for you to pick your daughter up.
That's correct.
And did you?
Yes, I did.
And that was on Friday or Saturday?
That was on a Friday.
And she was supposed to be returned on Sunday?
That's correct.
What time?
There was really no preset time that her and I discussed. Usually when she came out to pick her up, it was between 6 and 8 o'clock that evening.
And was the formal arrangement that you worked out with your wife, you would pick her up and your former wife would come and get her about 6 or 8 o'clock?
That's correct.
Tell me what happened on this particular weekend.
That Sunday, I had called my ex-wife approximately around 6 p.m. that evening to find out when she was going to be coming out to pick her up, because we were getting ready to make arrangements to have her sit down and eat dinner, and we were going to have her go visit her grandparents for a couple minutes before she said goodbye. Then we were going to bring her back over to my house and for her to pick her up that evening.
About what time?
Well, we never discussed on the telephone what time she was going to be coming out. Just that I had called and asked her if she was still coming out, and at that time when I spoke to her on the phone, she said no.
You said to her, "Are you still coming out?"
Basically,
that's what you just said. Are you still coming out? And she said no.
That's correct.
And what did you say?
I asked her why, and she said it was because of the fact that I was failure to pay her child support as ordered by the court.
So she said, you're not paying child support, you pick up the child and bring the child home.
Right.
Is that what you're telling me?
Basically in a roundabout way, yes.
Okay. So did you?
No. The reason why is because my wife, we were waiting on her ex-boyfriend to bring her son home to our house that evening. We weren't sure of the time when he was going to be there. He had never called to say that he was going to be coming down to drop his son off, and at what time or anything. So at the time we only had one vehicle, and because her ex-boyfriend didn't know where her parents lived or where her sister lived, there'd be no way that he'd be able to drop her off other than at our house.
So he was dropped. Just a second. I'm a little confused here. Your wife's ex-boyfriend was dropping off her son.
Her son, correct.
So what did you need a car for if he was dropping off the son?
To be able to transport my daughter back to their house.
Well, that's what we're talking about. I mean, you had a car that wasn't needed because the other child in your house was being dropped off by that child's father. So you had a car.
Yes.
So why didn't you, when she said, I'm not picking up our daughter, you bring her home, why didn't you just bring her home? So don't give me a lot of excuses that don't make sense, sir. You just got annoyed, right?
No, I wasn't. It had nothing to do with annoyance.
Well, then why didn't you do it?
It's because of the fact that her son, and also because of the fact that she said that we had agreed to, prior to that.
Forget the son. Forget your wife's son. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
We just came and put a period to that argument. He was being dropped off. You didn't need a car. You had a car. You could have taken your daughter home. You decided not to take her home. And it was because you say she broke a prior agreement that she would come and pick the child up.
Right.
Is it true you haven't paid child support?
That's correct.
Why not?
Right now, I'm still currently unemployed.
How long have you been still currently unemployed?
Since March or April of this year.
And prior to that, what kind of work did you do?
Prior to that, I was a computer repair technician.
Did you pay support in February, sir?
At that time, when I was working, no, there was no payments being made because I wasn't working really that long. I was probably
All
working
right,
for
so when you were working, you weren't paying support, and now that you're not working, you're not paying support. How do you support yourself? What?
Well, through help from my parents. And we're doing odd jobs on the side, too.
That's right. You can understand why your former wife is annoyed that you're not contributing to your child's support, can't you?
Yes, I do, and I understand that.
Good. Now that we got through with that, now let's get back to this Sunday. So on Sunday, according to these papers, between, say, 10 and 11 o'clock at night, they did show up to pick up your daughter.
That's correct.
Tell me what happened.
From where they live, from work to my house, it's roughly about an hour drive. And about 9 o'clock, I waited. No arrival, no phone call. 10 o'clock, same thing. So about 10:30, I had set my security alarm and was prepared to take my daughter to bed when about 11 o'clock, I received a knock on the door. I turned off the alarm, walked over to the door. There's my ex-wife at the door, and she said, where's my daughter? I woke her up. She gathered her things together, put her in the car, came back to the house, and basically words were exchanged, and that's when the door was kicked.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Once I am employed, which will...
You are employed!
And until
you just let somebody else take your pay.
Right, in October.
Right, I know right.
October.
I know right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Besmertnik claims his ex-wife's fiancé, Bob Newsom, hit him in the face for no reason.
Now let's hear about this assault, sir.
Words were exchanged.
With whom?
Actually between myself, my ex-wife, and with the defendant. And that's when he came over to me and hit me in the eye.
And you weren't doing anything?
No. I did nothing to provoke it.
Do you have a doctor's report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You paid $5 for these visits, sir, out of total charges that were much more than that. Do you have some sort of insurance?
No.
Well, how do you pay for these visits?
My wife was the one that wrote the checks for those visits.
Does your wife have health insurance?
The only insurance that she has is medical insurance through, I believe, Franklin County.
Does she receive welfare?
Yes.
She get food stamps?
No.
How does she support herself?
Right now, she is working until the baby's born. She's working for my father.
She's working for your father doing what?
Delivering automotive parts.
So what you're trying to tell me, sir, is that your wife works and you don't?
No, she's the one that volunteered.
No. What you're telling me is
that's correct.
Your wife works for your father.
That's correct.
Off the books.
That I don't know.
Of course you do.
No, I don't.
Your wife works for your father off the books. She collects some sort of welfare, and you do nothing. You don't work for your father. She must have a better relationship with your father than you do.
Well, actually, I do help him out, but he doesn't pay me. He pays her.
All designed to avoid your child support.
No.
Well, it certainly is successful in avoiding your child support, sir, because if you were working for your father on the books and he was paying you instead of paying your wife for work you did, the state would come in and take out some money and pay your former wife some child support. Isn't that a fair statement?
That is correct.
Perfect. I think I was born yesterday. Huh?
But you stayed up all night, right?
Yeah, right. Thank you, Bert. That was good. All right, Mr. Newsom, tell me just about the assault, sir. I'm ready to hear your version of the assault.
Okay. We got to the house. We were at the front door. Mrs. Besmertnik advised us that we were not going to take the child.
You mean his present wife?
Yes, Sherry.
Okay.
She informed us that we were not taking Brittany. We might as well go on back to Zanesville because we couldn't have her. I grabbed a hold of the door. She grabbed a hold of the door from the inside. And when I kicked the bottom of the door, it bent the bottom of the door in. I pulled the door open, told Vicky to go in and get her child and put her in the car. Sherry was arguing with us about the child support, told us we had no right to expect child support. It was a privilege and not a right. Some words were exchanged. We did get an argument. James started yelling some profanities at Vicky, his ex-wife. I kind of tried to get between them because I didn't want anything to happen. He went over to the corner of his living room, got a walking stick type of a crooked-looking stick thing, come across the living room at me with it and said, "I'll take care of this," picked up the stick like he was going to hit me with it, and I hit him in the eye.
Were you present?
Yes.
Step up here. Tell me what you saw at the time of the assault.
I had just come back in the house, and Sherry was still standing at the door, and he was standing on the other side of the living room. Him and I began to argue, and her and
What were you arguing about?
About that day when I talked to him on the phone. I told him, I'm not coming to get her. As long as I'm providing all necessities, he can at least provide his own visitation.
His own transportation.
His own transportation for the visitation.
That sounds right to me.
Well, we were arguing about that, and I told him, I said, next time.
I mean, you don't have to get up early to go to work in the morning, right? Go ahead.
So, him and I were arguing, and him and I were ready to fight.
Okay.
And that's when those two got into it. He stepped in between us, and he walked over and he got the stick. And he was calling me some horrible names, calling him some horrible names, and he hit him.
Okay. Tell me about this support that you provide for Brittany, Mr. Newsom.
I was carrying her on my health insurance, taking her to doctor's visits, taking her to dentist visits.
Your judgment of divorce provide that you're supposed to pay 50% of the child's unreimbursed medical expenses?
That I don't know. It just says that both of us, either one of us, has to get medical insurance to cover our daughter.
And the one who provides it, the other one has to pay half.
That's correct.
You've left that out. You leave out everything, sir, that involves you paying. So how much have you paid?
The medical coverage, when they approached me and informed me about medical coverage, I had asked my ex-wife, I said, could you make me a copy of the medical bills? Because I'm not going to take her word on the monetary value at face value unless I could see actual documented proof that that's how much the medical bills cost.
And then you're prepared to pay them?
Once I am employed, which will be...
You are employed!
And until
you just let somebody else take your pay.
Right, in October.
Right, I know right. I know right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your daughter was expecting you those weekends.
Yes.
And you just didn't show up.
That's correct.
Oh, you are some winner.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. James Bismertnik wants his ex-wife's fiancé, Bob Newsom, to pay for hitting him in the face and destroying a storm door. Bob wants James to pay him for supporting his daughter.
At the time these bills were paid, you personally paid for these bills, sir. Not your fiancé. You paid for them. Is that
I paid for them because she was only working part-time.
You're a nice guy. You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have a 9-year-old and we have a 2-year-old.
Do you support your 9-year-old?
Yes, I do. Every week.
You current in your child support?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an automotive technician.
Oh, where's the trusting calculator? Do me a favor, sir. Would you add up these bills that are just marked for Brittany? Okay? Thank you. You seem to indicate in your answer that the plaintiff comes irregularly for visitation.
Yes.
Is that true, sir, that you come irregularly to pick up your daughter for visitation?
Every Friday was when, or every other Friday was when I'm supposed to pick her up.
That's not what I asked you. I know when you're supposed to pick her up according to you. Do you come every other Friday to pick your daughter up for visitation?
Yes, I do, unless we had agreed that they were going to keep her that weekend to take her someplace or have something special planned for that weekend, then another arrangement would be made.
So according to you, there have been no weekends when you've disappointed the child by not showing up?
No, not that I remember.
Is that correct?
He has not. He saw her for 5 days in July. Prior to that, he had not seen her since April, and visitation prior to that point was sporadic at best.
What happened between
maybe
April
once every
and
couple
July,
months.
sir?
April and July, basically, there was a conflict between my ex-wife and I, and rather than try to go out there and deal with another argument or deal with the situation, I decided it would be best for my daughter not to see that argument, and decided not to be there to pick her up.
And how did you communicate that to your daughter, who's 8 years old?
I didn't.
So as far as you knew, your daughter was expecting you those weekends?
Yes.
And you just didn't show up?
That's correct.
Oh, you are some winner.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. Being a judge requires evaluating people's credibility. Credibility comes in many forms. One of the things that we look to is common sense. Common sense, and whether a witness has been perfectly candid and forthcoming in other testimony, which I find you have not been, sir. It sounds to me as if you are a classic example of a deadbeat father who had a child, who chooses not to support that child, and whatever money that you are going to make from now on is going to go to your new family. That's a decision that clearly you made, and it's clearly a decision that your wife made. I say that because the facts are evident. They came out of your own mouth after some prodding that you do, in fact, work. You probably are employed on a full-time basis. You work for your father off the books, and whatever money is supposed to be paid to you is paid to your wife in order to avoid your child support. So that all sounds to me pretty devious and underhanded. Therefore, I don't believe your story that out of the blue he came over and socked you in the eye. I think that in all probability, you did pick up a stick or something in your house, and while you may not have hit him with it first, he had cause to believe that you were about to assault him and defended himself, so I'm dismissing your lawsuit. Now, on your counterclaim, you have a responsibility to support your daughter. That's what the law says. It's the law, and it's also the right thing to do. You, on the other hand, Mr. Newsom, do not have an obligation to support this child, and I believe that you are entitled to be compensated for what you have actually spent for the child, which comes to $532. So on your counterclaim, sir, I am awarding you $532, and you, sir, goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 298 on the calendar in the matter of Reuter versus Hicks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Young man, why don't you have a seat, please? Mr. Reuter, you and the defendant had been married. You are divorced for many years now. How many children did you have?
One.
And this is your son?
That's correct.
Whose name is?
Adam.
According to your complaint, Adam had been living with you for several years.
Correct.
And there came a time recently when he decided to move back to his mother's home.
That's correct.
And when he left, he took your computer.
That's correct.
Without your permission.
That's correct.
You want it back.
He called me up and asked me if he could have the computer, and I said no. I understand that you want it, but it's my computer. It's a very expensive computer.
Okay, let me stop you right there. How long had he been living with you?
About 5 years.
Why did he decide to move back with his mother?
We had a falling out. He was failing freshman year in high school. I was trying to encourage him, perhaps probably pressuring him too much, to do better, to work, and try to do better, because it's going to make a big difference later on. And he was not getting it. I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. Basically, he failed 4 out of 6 classes in freshman, and then got him signed up for summer school to make up some of those classes.
This past summer?
That's right. And then after 3 days, he quit that and decided to go live with his mother, saying that, well, if nothing else, I can always get my GED.
And it was from his mother's house that he called you and said, I want the computer?
That's correct.
And you told him you can't have it?
That's right. And the conversation went something like this. He called me up and said, look, Dad, I'd really like to have the computer. And I said, no, you can't have it. I have another computer, a smaller one, that you can have. If you want to take that, go ahead. But you cannot have the big one. And then he said, geez, Dad, thank you very much for letting me have the computer, and hung up the phone before I had a chance to answer. So I think that was on purpose, that so the people on the other end on the other side of the conversation could hear him say thank you for letting me have the computer, and thinking that I had given it to him, which I did not. When I got home from work that day, the computer was gone. I immediately called my ex, Laura, to tell her.
So you called your ex at that point, and you told her what?
I told her there's a mistake. I did not authorize Adam to take the computer. It is my computer. If he wants to have the smaller computer, he can have it. And she says something to the effect, well, it's between me and him. I don't want to get in the middle of it. Besides, if he doesn't have a computer here, they were living in a one-bedroom house or apartment at that point, that he'll go crazy if he doesn't have that computer.
Let me stop you there. All right, Ms. Hicks, I just have some very direct questions for you. Were you present when he spoke to his father on the phone?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay. And the conversation went, Dad, can I have the computer? And from what you heard, the answer was?
He told me that Ron told him, well, if you give me back the VCR that you brought from the house, which I guess it used to be in Adam's room or something, and a portable, handle stereo, you can have the computer.
So you went back. I assume you brought back those things.
Yes, we did.
And picked up the computer.
Yes, ma'am.
He let himself into his father's house.
Right, and I waited in the driveway.
Now, that day, did you receive a call from your former husband?
After we got back home, yes.
And he said what to you?
He said that he wants his computer back, and I said it was my understanding that you told Adam that if you brought the VCR and the stereo back, that he could have the computer. And this is between you and Adam, because he says that's the computer that you bought for him.
But he did call immediately.
After he got home from work.
And then I assume you spoke to your son.
Yes, I did. Well, I think that he spoke to Adam on the phone first, but.
How old are you, Adam?
15 and 10 months.
You had a conversation with your father about the computer?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about your version of the conversation.
Well, I talked to him.
Now look at me.
Oh, I asked him if I could get the computer. We just kind of went back and forth.
What do you mean you went kind of back and forth?
All right, I said to him that I need the computer for school work, and I need because there are a bunch of things that I can do on it, word processing and things. And
he said to you?
Well, he said no, I use it for work, and we kind of went back and forth.
No,
oh,
I got that far. The back and forth is the part, Adam, that.
Sorry.
And look here.
All right.
So he said no.
Yeah, and he said, I need it for work.
And he said, I need it for work, and you said?
I said, what do you need the faster computer for work for? All he basically wants it for is so he can play his game that he likes to play all the time.
Okay.
And because he does spreadsheets. He's an accountant, and he can do that on the slower computer just as good. I mean,
is that what you told him?
Yeah, I mean, he used to.
Okay, so you told your father that he could use the slower computer to do his spreadsheets, and he said to you what?
He said, I bought both of them, so, I own them, they're mine. And
and you said?
I just kind of asked, well, can I have the computer? He's like, yeah, sort of. And then I'm like, thanks, Dad, and just kind of hung up on him. That's kind of how it went, yeah, basically. And, but I hadn't gotten the computer at that time. I'm kind of nervous.
Just a minute. So then it was pretty much like, as you said, like your father said. He said you can have the older computer that's slower,
yeah,
but not the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got off the phone, Adam. Your mother was there, and you told your mother, Dad said I could have the computer. Would you take me over and get it?
Well, actually, no, I did not. We did not get the computer at that time.
When did you get it? The next day?
No, like a week later, when I had called him back again.
Okay, so you called him back again.
Yes.
Actually, I think they had
excuse me, I think they had several phone conversations within that week before he actually said to him, well, when he got off the phone and said, you know, he said, if I take the VCR and the stereo back.
Don't take what he says as gospel.
That's why I'm saying.
Right.
He
right.
told me that.
He's doing some fancy footwork here.
I think his father's doing some fancy footwork.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Doesn't say stupid here.
Nor here.
Would you give away $12,000 that you didn't know?
Not
no. And he's not stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronald Reuter says he made it clear to his son Adam that he could not have the computer. Adam says his dad changed his mind during a phone call.
Point of the matter is, Miss Hicks, when his father came home from work, he didn't wait a day or a week or a month to say, well, now I want my computer back. He immediately called you and said, hey, listen, there's been some kind of mistake here. I told him he could have the old computer, but he came in and took the new computer. So clearly there was no understanding between the two of them on that day. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I mean, it's logical. Nothing happened between the two of you between the time he got off the phone with his father and he went over to get, with your assistance, the computer. I mean, you said to me his father was at work. I mean,
Can I say something?
Sure.
Your Honor. For the last 2 years, it has been one thing after another, okay, since I filed for back child support.
You say that in your answer. You say that it's been problems.
Yeah, I mean, he has gone out of his way to make our life miserable.
That's terrible.
And let me just tell you, what he was saying about Adam failing school and then he quit summer school. When I filed for the back child support at the very, you know, like 2.5 years ago, whenever it was, the reason I did, after many months of talking to Ron, was I felt that Adam needed to be tested. He was having a lot of difficulty, you know, like 7th grade, you know, 6th, 7th grade, his grades kept going down, okay? I felt that he was having problems and he needed to be tested. I wanted to get him tested.
Okay.
I wanted Ron to help pay for that. Okay, so no, it's not immaterial because that's the reason why he was failing. As the next year he did less. The next year, which was last year, he did fail. I then, when he was failing, got him tested at Huntington Learning Center. He had a reading disability. His grade level was like, you know, 5th or 6th grade in reading and a little bit higher than that in math. He's gone to over 70 hours of tutoring since the beginning of summer, which he was already doing before he quit summer school.
Ms.
Okay?
Hicks,
and what I'm trying to say is...
Yeah, well, then say it.
Okay.
I mean, I understand that you're trying to do the right thing.
Yes, but this is what I'm saying, is that one thing after another he has done because he's been angry, because he didn't want to pay the child support arrears.
And if that's true, Ms. Hicks, if that's true...
Yes.
And if he owes child support, that's outrageous.
I have a judgment.
And now, according to your papers, you were supposed to appear in court just a few days ago. I assume you got your judgment for back arrears. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. It hasn't been set aside yet, but there's other litigation going on. I do not owe it. I'm trying to settle now for $12,000, and she will not do that.
Just a second. If you're trying to settle, sir, listen to me.
Yes.
If you're trying to settle for $12,000, that in and of itself is outrageous to owe $12,000. Because if you say, I don't owe $30,000, but I owe $12,000, even that's outrageous. So
well, Your Honor, I don't owe $12,000, as a matter of fact.
Well,
but I am willing to settle it to get it off the case, to get on with our lives. So that is what I'm willing to do.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. Doesn't say stupid here. Nobody.
Nor here.
Well, it would say stupid there if you don't owe $12,000 and you're willing to settle for $12,000. Would you give away $12,000 that you didn't know? No. And he's not stupid, believe me. But that's not what this is about. Ms. Hicks, I understand that you may have frustration with him over child support. This is not what this is about. This is about one issue. It's unfortunate that it comes here to court, but logic, common sense, and the timing of the events suggests to me that there was no agreement between your son and his father that he could come and take the high-powered computer from the house. I say that to you, Ms. Hicks, because As soon as your former husband came home from work, he called you and said, listen, I didn't give him permission to take that computer. And nothing happened in that intervening 24-hour period. You know, if you said to me, listen, Judge, this is what happened in that 24-hour period. I got it. Put your hand down. Put your hand down. You seem to be winning. Why don't you be quiet?
Good point. Thank you.
If you were to say to me, Ms. Hicks, that in that 24-hour period, he gave him permission to take the computer, then he got served with a summons for child support arrears that day, got angry, called you and said, he can't have the computer anymore. There was a misunderstanding. Then I could say, well, there was an intervening event that maybe ticked him off. But that's not what happened. He had already been advised that you were suing for child support arrears, so that nothing happened in that 24-hour period, nothing except that he went to work. And he went to work, he comes home, he finds no computer, immediately, according to you. Picked up the phone and called you and said, bring it back, and you should have brought it back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He called the police to have him arrested.
Oh, sir, that's outrageous.
But I did not send the police over.
Well, what'd you expect them to do? Send them a card?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Ronald Reuter wants his ex-wife and his son to return his computer. Adam says his dad gave it to him.
You look like you're dying to say something.
Yes, Your Honor. May I?
I want to know if you have. I'm not interested in your feelings, sir.
I know.
I'm interested in facts.
Yes, Your Honor.
So then stand up and tell me who you are.
My name is Bob Lipman, and I am married to Laura Hicks. When Adam brought those things over there in exchange for the computer, I heard all the phone conversations.
Just a second. You mean you will? Are you telling me, Mr. Lipman?
Yes.
Are you telling me you were listening into the conversation, or you heard his part of the conversation?
I heard his part, and when Mr. Reuter showed up with the police, I heard it live. He called the police to have him arrested.
I did not.
You did twice.
Just a second. Did you call the police?
I had the police. My next option was to file a report, a missing item report.
Oh, sir, that's outrageous.
But no, wait a minute. Wait, Your Honor. I did not file. I could have had him arrested for stolen property. I did not do that. I did not do that. I did not want to do that. I love my son. There's no way I'm going to do that. There's a misunderstanding. I had the police come with me, to escort me over there to ask for the property back. That was an option I had. It was a legal option. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to storm.
Just a second.
You're
absolutely right, sir.
One other point, if I may.
My mouth is moving.
One other point, if I may.
I didn't stop moving. It may have been an option. It was an option that you should have rejected as soon as it filtered into your brain. You should have said, I'm not calling the police and indicating that my son came without my permission to take property. It wasn't missing property. You knew exactly where it was.
Yeah.
So it's an option that any reasonable parent would not have taken to send the police over.
I did not send the police over.
Well, what'd you expect them to do? Send them a card? Say, please return the computer to
All
local
I was trying to do
police
is do it
department?
within the legal ramifications that are available to me, and that was one of them, and it seemed very reasonable to me at the time. I'm not trying to...
I'm here to tell you that it was not reasonable. That's a legal option, but one that you need not necessarily exercise. So, say nothing else.
Okay.
There was clearly not an understanding between father and son with regard to this computer. Not an understanding that I'm happy that was established to my satisfaction. We understand each other, Adam?
No, because I believe that there actually was an event that happened in between the 24, happened in between the time.
I'll hear you.
I believe that is when my report card came from summer school, or the call came from summer school saying that I had dropped out. And he was very mad.
How do you know that Adam?
Yeah.
How do you know that came in that 24-hour period?
I believe he called me.
Yeah, he called on the phone. I forgot about that,
Just a second. He called on the phone when?
I think it was right when he got home.
You mean when he got home and found his computer missing?
I think the two things happened at the same time, and I don't believe that there is any show between which one empowered him to call.
Did you get his report card that day?
No, it was the day before.
It was the day before?
It would have been a Monday. He took it on a Tuesday.
When your former husband called and spoke to your son and then spoke to you on the day that you actually took the computer, he said to you, return the computer, right?
Yes, but he said, I think there's been a misunderstanding between Adam and I. And
okay.
Yeah, but this was also the same day, earlier in the day, actually, he called from work and said he was angry because Adam hadn't gone to summer school. And
did he speak to you?
Yes, ma'am.
He spoke to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So just a
and
second.
He talked
hold it. It gets even better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
So he calls you to tell you that he's angry that Adam didn't go to summer school, something that was arranged when he was living with his father. And at that same day, later on in the day, because you said he called earlier, you took him to pick up the computer?
I don't think they were on the same day, as Ron already said. I think it was the day before, and the next day was when we went over and got the computer. Ron said
Okay,
the
just
same
a second.
thing.
That's even better. The day before, he called and had this conversation with you about being distressed that he wasn't in school. The day before. So here he is distressed with you that you're not going to school, and that was the intervening event that made him change his mind when he originally said, no, you couldn't have the computer, and you say, then he said, yes, sure, you can have the computer. Is that what you're telling me, Adam?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Baloney.
Well.
Baloney. Forget it.
Nice try.
I'm not interested in anymore. It's enough. It's enough. You have to return the computer to your father. You want to show me something?
Yes, Your Honor, I made a mistake in the value. First off, I don't want
I'm not giving you the value, sir. I'm giving you the computer. You're getting your computer back within 5 days. Do you understand? Do you understand? 5 days. The court will draw up an order. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
First off, I love my son. My point is that he should not get something for nothing.
Ron wanted to prove something to Adam. He said he wanted to prove some life lesson to Adam.
I wanted the computer back. The computer was mine, and I wanted to make the point to him that he should not get it for nothing, that he did not earn it.
He wanted the computer just simply because he was mad at me.
This is not about a computer. It is a vendetta. He has just done everything possible to harass her life. This is just one more incident of that.
I can't tell you how much he's made our life miserable for the last 2 years.
It does prove that you can prevail in court.
Alicia Ledger, also 17, assaulted her, ripping 3 fingernails off. Alicia says it was a fair fight over concert tickets.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Bigelow versus Ledger. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have seats, please.
Miss Bigelow, you and Miss Ledger had been good friends. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your complaint is that she assaulted you, that it was an unprovoked assault and you were injured. You wanted to pay for all your medical bills as well as the pain and suffering that you sustained.
Correct.
So why don't you tell me how this happened?
Well, me and my boyfriend had bought to go to a concert, and we decided to sell her a ticket because she was going to go with me instead of him, because she was my best friend. We ended up getting in a lot of arguments, and we decided we weren't going to be friends anymore. So I talked with her, and we agreed that she was going to sell the ticket back to me because she had paid $30 for it. But in the meantime, she had borrowed $20 off of us. Her and her boyfriend had borrowed $20 from us. So she was our friend. So I had talked to her, and I told her that since she had owed us $20, I would give her $10, and she could give me the ticket, and that would be even.
Miss Bigelow, don't make things up as you go along.
I'm not.
Okay? Because your complaint doesn't say anything about you discussed with her the $20. As a matter of fact, you said something about the $20 was owed to your boyfriend, not to you. So you never discussed the $20 with her, that you were taking it off.
Yes, I did.
Did she?
When we discussed it, she told me she would pay me $30 for the ticket. The debt was between my boyfriend and her boyfriend. It had nothing to do with me. So she decided she would give me $30. When I wasn't home, she sent her niece over and exchanged the ticket for the $10.
All right. So then you got the ticket back, right?
Yep.
For the $10.
Yep.
And then what happened?
And then me and my mother and my boyfriend arrived at my house, and there was a police officer there, and she just came over to the car and dragged me out and started beating on me.
And what happened to you as a result of this beating?
I got 3 of my fingernails ripped off because I had these acrylic nails on, and they ripped back and ripped my nails off. And also when the officer was pulling her off of me, she kicked me in my head.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Okay. When I found out what happened with the ticket, I called her.
When you found out that she picked up the ticket from your house,
right, when I
and
wasn't
only
home.
left $10, what did you do?
I called her because she was at her boyfriend's house. I called her and I said, "What's going on?" And she was like, "You wait and we'll deal with it when I get there." So I waited at her house. I called my boyfriend and let him know what was going on. He called the police so they could solve it without, anything happening. So I was waiting there with the police. When she pulled up, we both grabbed each other and started fighting.
Could I say something?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to do this, but you can go over there.
When there was a debt between me and him that I owed him money, but it was and I was buying a ticket for her for an Easter present, and I had given the ticket for her for a present. And then when they left the $10,
Listen to this. I'm not interested in that.
all right, when they left the $10 at the house, then I was at my house babysitting my sister, and I couldn't go nowhere to find out what was
I'm
going on.
not interested in
So I
that. What
called
is
the
your name?
police.
What's your name?
Matt
Matt what?
Betancourt.
Mr. Betancourt. What city do you live in?
Fitchburg,
Where is that?
Massachusetts.
They must have a very, very large police department that has nothing to do. Because quite frankly, the thing that I found most appalling is that the two of you called the police to meet you at a location, took them away from important business over $20.
Yeah. But it wasn't only over that. It was because that she was
had me
mad.
jumped before. Okay.
Just a second.
So
I heard about that there was a jumping by an old boyfriend, but she wasn't with that boyfriend anymore. This is a court. I don't go into all that extraneous stuff. What I don't understand is this was over $20. You called the police as if it was an emergency. What did you tell the police when you called them, sir?
I told them that they were ripping us off and that she was really angry and I was afraid something might happen, that they should go down there before something does.
Okay. So when you called the police, you told them that you were getting ripped off, but it was a civil case.
Yeah.
You told them that you owed $20 and that you were afraid what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because your girlfriend was really angry.
Yes.
Were you lying to the police?
No.
Were you telling the police the truth?
Yeah.
So your girlfriend was really angry.
Yeah.
And you were afraid what was going to happen if the police weren't there.
Yeah. She
All
didn't get
right.
ripped
Now,
off.
very good. Now you can sit down.
All right.
Perfect. Did your job. Stand up. You're Mrs. Bigelow?
Yes.
You're her mother?
Yes.
So tell me what happened when you arrived at your house.
When I arrived at my house, we turned into the street. There was a cruiser parked there. Alicia was on our lawn, came running to the car, punched Sarah through the window. And then next thing I know, the two girls were out on the lawn, and she was beating on my daughter. 2 other cruisers arrived and pried the girls apart, and Sarah had her fingernails ripped off and was kicked in the face, and they called an ambulance.
Go ahead.
The window was rolled up, for one thing. And it was. She opened the door and we started fighting.
What did you go up to the car for?
I don't...
Huh? What did you go up to the car for? You had the police there. You go over to the police and you say to the police...
I told them what happened.
No. You walked up to the car. If you weren't interested in a confrontation, you wouldn't have walked up to the car. You would have stayed back with the police. There was a cruiser there. You would say, could you please help me? This is a problem over $20. And in all probability, they would say to you, young lady, go home. This is a civil matter. Don't be here. You didn't even wait for the police to come in so that they could separate you. You went barging up right to the car.
The police were there the whole time, waiting with me.
The police didn't walk up to the car with you. Right?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb.
And later today,
You went to the concert,
Yes, we did.
but then you had a surprise when you were there.
Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him.
He must have a lot of money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Two former best friends, Sarah Bigelow and Alicia Ledger, were fighting over money paid for concert tickets. Sarah wants medical bills, plus pain and suffering for Alicia ripping out 3 of Sarah's fingernails.
Now, Miss Bigelow, you did a real stupid thing. Really stupid. You knew it was wrong to send over the $10 instead of the $30.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it was wrong, and if you didn't know it was wrong, I'm here to tell you you were wrong. Your mother will probably, I hope, will tell you that you were wrong. She was wrong. She got involved with these 2 buttes over here and what they owed each other. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb. And I can understand that you were angry. I really can. I can understand that you felt as if she didn't give you what she was supposed to give you. You used to be friends. Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle.
Can I say something? I did not tell her to wait at my house.
I didn't say that to you.
No, I know.
I
but
said
she
you were
said that.
wrong for dropping off $10 and taking the ticket when she expected $30. That doesn't excuse your behavior.
I know, and I understand.
And you were hot. And you were hot even after you spoke to her because the answer that she gave you was not one that was satisfactory, as a result of which your boyfriend called the police, and according to him, he said, you better be there because my girlfriend is very hot and very angry and I don't know what's going to happen. Right? How much out-of-pocket expense did you have? Did any insurance cover this?
Yep, some of them, not the ambulance bill.
How much was the ambulance?
$322.50.
And the rest of the bills were covered?
There's a copay, Your Honor.
Well, the copay is 25, 25, and 25. So that's $75. So your total out-of-pocket expenses were, according to this, $397.50. The ambulance and the copays. All right. How long were you bandaged? I saw some pictures of you bandaged.
For about 4 months.
Your hand?
Yeah.
Is that from where the nails were ripped off?
Yeah.
They had to reinsert her fingernails back in because they were afraid that they wouldn't grow back because they had been pulled out at the roots. So they had to reinsert the nails, but because the acrylic was attached to her real nail,
They had to leave them
they
on.
had to leave them on. She was in a splint for a good 4 months.
You want to say
This just happened about 6 months ago, and a couple weeks after, I kept seeing her on the street. She would give me the finger with that hand, yelling at me, screaming at me, you know. She didn't have any bandages on her hand a couple weeks later.
We're talking here about something that caused a lot of pain.
I know, but if she's
a lot of pain, you have to pay for what you did. You don't do something like that over a $20 bill. You try to hold on to your temper.
And I know that, but the fight was mutual. Yeah.
No. She didn't go to your house. You went to her
We were
house.
next
You went to
door
her house. Hey, I'm not going to repeat myself. Your boyfriend called the police because he was concerned because you were so angry. And when she pulled up in the car, you couldn't even wait to have the police actually there to resolve the issue. You went running up to the car. And you were so hot that you couldn't even control yourself. Well, you better learn to control yourself. You suing for $2,000?
Yes.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff. And that's
Thank you, Your Honor.
$2,000.
Thank you very
Parties
much.
are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Her friendship wasn't really worth any of the problems.
I would never want to be her friend again. It wasn't worth it in the first place.
She does nothing but cause trouble.
And now the next case.
Parties on Young versus Adams. Step forward, please.
James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant, Mark Adams, got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff, James Young, got stuck paying.
2 Jerry Seinfeld fans.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. Yes.
You, Mr. Adams, purchased, fortunately for you, 2 of the best seats in the house
That's right.
for Jerry Seinfeld's concert.
That's correct.
And then something came up in your private life, and you couldn't go.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
I ran an ad in the local newspaper, and Mr. Young responded and bought the tickets from me.
So far correct?
So far.
And you charged him exactly what you paid for the tickets.
Well, I charged him what I paid for the tickets plus the cost of the ad that ran in the newspaper.
That sounded fair, right?
Yes.
How much was the total?
$150, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Within a few pennies.
And you paid how much for the tickets, sir?
I paid $66 for each ticket, plus this is the receipt for the ad that was run in the paper.
You went to the concert.
Yes, we did.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, we did.
But then you had a surprise when you were there.
That's correct.
What was the surprise?
When we went to the concert, Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him, and he said he was going to give us our money back for the tickets. So
He must have a lot of money.
I think so.
I think so too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Morally, I should give him the money back. Legally, I'm not so sure, which means that the law, sir, is an ass.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff got stuck paying.
So what did you do?
On Monday, my wife, Deb, took the tickets back, and we ran into a problem. I think my wife can explain.
When I took the tickets back to Ticketmaster, they told me that they could tell by the tickets that they had been charged and my account would be automatically credited. Then I explained to them that my husband had bought them out of the newspaper, and they said that we would have to go back to whomever we purchased them from to get the money.
So, Mr. Adams, you were in now the fortunate position of having received the $150 from the plaintiff for the tickets.
That's correct.
Which made you whole.
That's correct.
And you also got $132 credited to your account
That's
for the
correct.
tickets.
That's correct.
So now you're whole plus $132.
That's right.
And Mr. Young says that $132 should actually be his.
That's what he said.
Because he was the one who purchased the tickets. He was the one who went to the concert. So I would like you to explain to me your defense, sir.
Well, my defense is that when Mr. Young bought the tickets from me, we established an oral contract. He agreed to buy the tickets for the purpose of going to see Jerry Seinfeld. So when Jerry announced the tickets were free, that doesn't fall within the parameters of the original oral contract.
Which was just for him to go to see the show.
Go see the show, correct.
And you honestly, in your heart and mind, believe... I'm just asking you. Before we go at it, Mr. Adams, I'm just asking you whether in your heart and mind you believe that that is a legitimate defense to his lawsuit.
From a legal standpoint, yes, I do believe it is a legitimate defense. It may not be a moral defense, but you know, if he went to the show, he has a hole also because he saw the show. So, you know, where do we split the money?
Let us assume he went to the Jerry Seinfeld show on tickets that he purchased from you.
Right.
And instead of Jerry Seinfeld coming out and saying, look, the tickets are free, he said, I want everybody in the theater to look under their seat. Mm-hmm. And whoever has a big money sign under their seat gets a brand new truck.
Okay.
And Mr. Young looks under the seat. Lo and behold, he's got the Jerry Seinfeld money sign under his seat. Who has a right to the truck?
I suppose Mr. Young does.
Why is that?
It was under his seat.
It was under his seat that he purchased from you. So he got a little bit more than he bargained for.
Exactly.
Well, under the scenario, Mr. Adams, that we have here, it's the exact same thing. He got a gift. He purchased your interest in those tickets. And whatever flowed from that, including our imaginary truck, or the gift of these tickets are free. Mm-hmm. And under your theory, you should get your money and this little extra bonus. So, Mr. Adams.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Your Honor.
Well, You want to try again to explain it to me? Maybe you can convince me, Mr. Adams.
I'm saying, isn't there a happy medium here? I mean, he already has the whole.
You mean like being a little bit pregnant?
He wants the show for free.
Right.
He wants the show plus the money.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what would have happened if you went to the show.
But that didn't fall under the original oral contract.
No, what you're saying is you had an oral contract with him which said you go to the show and that's it. And that wasn't your oral contract. He said, here are the tickets. You're buying the tickets. And you want a happy medium. You say, I'll split the money with you. Is that what you're saying to me? Isn't there a happy medium?
Well, perhaps, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
What you said before, sir, was very telling. You said before, I believe I have the right legal position. It may not be the right moral position.
Exactly.
But it's the right legal position. Okay. And I like to believe that whatever is